Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Newell. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been right here on the virtual caster desk, but don't you worry because our hiatus over at Epicland has officially come to an end, and now we're back right here to give you some more good old-fashioned Valorant action. As always, my name is Two Doors, Dos Puertas if you're Spanish, and alongside me, I've got none other than JP. John, my man, it's so good to be back, and damn does it feel so good.
It is, but it feels like my camera's still on hiatus back with Epic at the moment. It's just decided it doesn't want to pick anything up. I'm trying to get it to focus. There we go.
There we go.
It's finally arrived. It is back. Correct. We decided to take a hiatus for 2 weeks. 1 week doing Epic LAN. Obviously, you were on the R6 casting and I was on the Valorant, and it was fantastic. But the critical thing is I now get to be back in the Newell watching the very final rounds of the best of one as we lead into the top 8 cut. And this is where you want to be. This is where I want to be. I really want to see what the universities can really bring out this week that eventually sometimes rival these top teams. And we did see some of the university teams rock up to Epic LAN. Differing results across the board, but we're back to the most important event they have of the year, and I can't wait.
Okay, now before we actually do go on any further, I do have to. This has kind of been just itching at my brain for the past 35 seconds. Did you forget your glasses on top of your head?
No,
they're on purpose.
Yeah, they are. So the little secret. So as part of my job, I'm a project manager. I'm a full-time project manager, and generally I spend most of my day looking at computer screens, and then I have to then watch another 3 hours of a computer screen. I decided to invest in some blue, sort of the blue eliminating glasses, but I don't need them while I'm doing this. But it was one of those ones where, especially going through Epic LAN, where it was a lot of casting and a lot of looking at screens, I felt my eyes starting to sting a little bit. So decided it was the best thing to pick up. Picked them up for obviously last weekend, and they've worked. And I think it's really helped because obviously it then helps when I'm working as project manager, and then taking it through to obviously doing this as well. And it's
fair.
I don't need glasses. They are simply for the computer screens, and it just makes it so much easier to look at these games.
Definitely so. So if you, the viewer, feel as if your retinas are getting burned beyond belief, then unfortunately we don't have any sponsors or partners that you can actually check out for the time being. But if you are looking for housing, make sure to go ahead and check out Unite Students. Also, a massive thanks to Logitech for being one of our primary sponsors and partners here at the Newell. But now that we've got that entire rando segment out of the way, let's go ahead and actually dive into the meat and potatoes of tonight. As you can already see on the top of your screen, we've got Lancaster Bombers going up against the Mighty Stags for our opening matchup of the evening right over here. And these two squads, well, they definitely have a lot to play for, especially Lancaster Bombers because they are nearly at the very, very bottom of the barrel. They have 2 wins to their name only, and there is a chance, however slim it may be, for them to finally reach that top 8, given that they win 2 matches right here this evening, and everybody else just loses there straight up.
Yeah, the key things you need to understand, if Warwick Direwolves win either of their matches today, or if Bad Omens win either of their matches today, the Lancaster Bombers are unfortunately dead and buried and will go into retirement like the plane itself. But the key thing is they can also play dream crushers to everyone else. If we go to the matches they have to play, and order my trusty laptop next to me, not just the Mighty Stags, but the final game they play against, well, Apes Together Strong is one of the ones they want to try and close out on a strong result, but against the Mighty Stags, they could play some actual dream crushers here today. So the Mighty Stags currently sit in a beautiful 7th place. So they are actually in the top 8 cut so far, but they only sit at a grand total of 5 points. And Two Doors, if I was to give you the statistics, that first place is on 8 points, guaranteed top 8. Second place is on 7 points, guaranteed that top 8. Third place are on 6 points, also guaranteed that top 8, purely on the way the numbers work. You cannot drop out of the top 8 if you're on 6, 7 or 8 points. They are now playing for seeding going into that top 8. Now, 4th down to 11th are still all live to make top 8. Because Brunel, who currently hold the 4th place position, only have 5 points. And it's 1 point for a win, 0 for a loss. You could see Brunel not making this top 8. That is how close this is. Not just because Lancaster Bombers are on 2, but you have Apes Together Strong, who currently sit on 3 points. And then Bad Omens, Warwick Direwolves on 4. Then Mighty Stags, Portsmouth Paladins, Blue Jays, Rootkit and Brunel are all on 5. And heaven forbid we didn't see the Blue Jays and Rootkit make it through because they have a bad week. This is how close it has turned out. Unfortunately, the Arctic Foxes are dead and buried at 0-9. They've not had the greatest tournament, or they have had some good results and some really close games. It is still all to play for. And if the Lancaster Bombers can pull out a win in this game, the Mighty Stags are under a lot of pressure. They only sit at 5 points, and I assumed we'd be coming into this final round with a lot of close games.
Yeah.
But I didn't expect it to be as close as it still is. And to me, that does show the strength of the University League. We're definitely seeing some new teams coming to the top. We're seeing the likes of Immoral Free that have had an absolute stormer of a tournament, currently sitting at 8-1. And they're a team that we've seen little bits and pieces of before, but we've never seen them put on this clinic against these other top teams. So I'm really hoping to see some good games today. Hopefully no sort of damp squibs, as you'd call them, and sort of just to fall apart and people rock out of top 8 because they had a bad weekend. I really want to see them having a really positive finish to their events. But it's tight, these games matter, and the head-to-heads will also matter as well.
Yeah, definitely so. As things stand right now, moving into the final play day of the regular season. Before the playoffs start off next week, well, there's still all to play for, and I think it is surely really, really appropriate to actually pull out a couple of F1 references that now each and every single team that is sitting on either 5 points or less, well, they are battling to be the best of the rest. Obviously, the competition is super duper tight, as you previously stated, with 4 teams: Brunel, the Blue Jays, the Paladins, and the Mighty Stags. They're all sat on 5 points. If the Mighty Stags are able to claim a dub here tonight, then they will just shoot themselves up all the way towards the top of the standings, basically just propelling themselves to a guaranteed position in the playoffs. But still, it simply could not be any closer, and my oh my, is it going to be exciting. Truthfully, I'm really, really wishing that we could actually have the ability to broadcast each and every single one of these matches, because they truly deserve to be on screen for your beautiful eyes to feast upon. But unfortunately enough, that's not how it really works here for the time being. There's plenty of action taking place off screen, but we still got the best of the best that are going to be right here in front of you guys as well. So once again, it's still up in the air with the Dire Wolves, one of the most profound squads that has been playing thus far, and we will also see them later on in the evening as well. You know, for example, the Dire Wolves, they're on the edge right now. They're just about to fall and not even make the cut of top 8 as well, so they still have everything to play for. It could be anybody's game, and truthfully, I could not be more excited to hop right into the action as well.
Yeah, and obviously the Dire Wolves do form our second match of tonight up against the Reading Knights A team. I'm really glad that we actually did key in on the critical matches rather than watching the likes of Immoral Free, Cecil's Finest, and obviously we've got Reading Knights later, but that's purely because it ties up against the Warwick Dire Wolves. And actually it's a bit of a grudge match from the null last split, where Reading Knights took it down in a finals match against Warwick Dire Wolves. This time they're not playing for the championships itself, but if Bad Omens and Warwick Dire Wolves both win, Reading Knights are the final boss, as you'd say, for the Warwick Dire Wolves to make it into the top 8. And I never thought I'd be on the position of saying that the Warwick Dire Wolves are on 2 effective win and ins, if you understand the meaning from other games. If they lose, they put themselves in a horrible position where a lot of their fate rests in other teams' hands. If they want to have the fate in their own hands, they win the first game today and then win the second against Reading Knights, and they are guaranteed top 8. And that's where we're at the moment. And the Mighty Stags sit on 5 points, which is currently in. Yeah. And they're on the inside looking out at what everyone else is happening. But then you have to look at the side of the likes of Apes Together Strong and the Bad Omens, who currently sit at 9th and 10th, who are on the outside looking in. And kind of their destiny sits in a lot of other people's hands as well, especially Apes Together Strong. But for me, it's too tough to call. We've seen...
It really is.
The Mighty Stags have had some really impressive performances, but then they kind of dropped the ball last week and they lost 13-6 to a Rootkit and Blue Jays team who were below them in the standings prior to that game. Now they're on level playing field at 5 points, so that sort of five win records.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that matchup between the Mighty Stags and the Blue Jays, that was actually the match the Blue Jays needed to overtake the Mighty Stags in terms of the standings as well. So that was a really, really tough L for the Mighty Stags last week.
Yeah, it was not one you want to pick up, and obviously it does put you under a lot more pressure. If you win that match last week, you are essentially in about 96% in. But the match at hand is the Lancaster Bombers and the Mighty Stags. We have just seen that the map vetoes have come through. So, Two Doors, you do what you do best. Give us the rundown. Tell us where we are going for the best of one.
Alrighty, I'm pretty sure that our lovely producer Noah is also going to be throwing up the veto on screen momentarily if we have that asset at the ready. So let's go ahead and take a look at the veto for tonight's opening best of one series between Lancaster Bombers and the Mighty Stags. Obviously, we will start off with Lancaster banning Bind, and there's really no point because it doesn't show the veto, it just shows the map. I forget that's how we roll over here at the Newell, but we will be moving on to Haven, one of the maps that I myself, as a shoutcaster, don't have all too much experience with. I believe I've only casted this match, or this particular map, like twice in my tenure as a Valorant caster thus far, so I'm always super duper stoked to call out that there is a C-bomb site, because it is practically the only map that actually has a C-bomb site, and it's going to be a really interesting battleground for these two squads to duke it out tonight.
Yeah, and obviously the bans came through as Bind and Split. The ban Descent, so interesting, decided to pick Haven over Icebox. Icebox was left open. But if you have a choice of Icebox and Haven, I'm 90% sure you're going to choose Haven. Haven is an interesting map, actually. One, we've seen a huge amount of bans across a lot of Valorant, going up sort of from the university into that sort of mid-tier to high-tier competitive tournaments. We have very rarely seen it. I remember last split, the split before the winter split of the Newell, we saw it all the time in the best of one. But I haven't actually cast Haven with Newell yet, because it's been banned all the time. Well, not this season of the Newell, this sort of spring split. It's been banned so much, and it's one of those maps that, again, it's flips and flop between defender and attacker favor. It hasn't really been changed a huge amount since its inception in the beta.
Yeah.
But it does derive a certain number of agents having a huge priority on this map. Like, this is a map where you need Sova. It's like a critical agent, the information gathering for your rotations. Like, if you're on defender, you are so thinly spread across the map. If you give a site too easily because you had no information, you're on a retake. And we have seen retakes able to be done. The likes of 100 Thieves have really shown how these retakes can be done, and they play a very much a retake-centered strategy on Haven. But a lot of these teams necessarily won't have that coordination to that level, where actually giving the site freely and having to retake might end in disaster for them. So I think it's really important that the likes of Sova's available. I think this is also a map where Omen does stand out as the controller of choice, being able to smoke pretty much across the entire map, which means you can set up on one bomb site and you can then assist in defending the other map, say another bomb site across the map, where Brimstone doesn't have that capacity to do, despite all the buffs that Brimstone got. The range just isn't the same as Omen's, and I think those are the two agents that you really need to be looking for. Obviously, the Jets Rainers are the things you will be seeing on the aggressive side, but there are some critical points where I think comfort falls behind impact, where normally we talk about these maps and say, no, you need to be on comfort agents, you need to be doing what you do best. If you're a Brimstone player, play Brimstone. This, to me, is potentially the one map where I would say you have to play to the agent that is the most effective on the map, such as Haven. So it's going to be interesting to see what strats come out. I don't think there's a particular favour. They generally say that Defender is slightly disadvantaged purely in the way you're strung out and the way you have to retake the sites. So whoever's on the attack needs to really set a statement and take the lead in this round.
Definitely. No, obviously on the attacker side, it is basically in the name itself, you have to take the initiative as well. But obviously on the side of the defense, actually, mounting up retakes and actually or appropriately responding to an attack as it's coming, to an execution as it's in motion on Haven, tends to be a massive struggle, and it also has to do with the actual map layout itself. If we take a look at, for example, the A bomb site to the far east, the far right side of the map, it's extraordinarily claustrophobic, and as a defender, if you're pushing in from that CT side, you really only have 2 lanes to actually work with through the connector side and as well over by Heaven, and that those are basically your only 2 options for actually retaking it. So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if we see the Mighty Stags, since they're starting off on the attack, by the way, I believe that they will be primarily, prioritizing the A bomb site to get all of these executions in motion as well. I think that's definitely what we have on the menu this evening, but we do see the agents on screen. So John, why don't you go ahead and talk us through, are your predictions correct? Let's see exactly what these two teams have in store for us.
Well, I think that the side of Lancaster, obviously Smiley Serial, Kogo, Joe, and Rogue, and of course Seductive Sausage bringing up the back of it have gone very much on the way that they just want to hit this site and hit the ground running. They know they can see they're on defense first, but they've gone, for me, for an incredibly aggressive composition that you normally wouldn't expect to see on Haven. They've gone for double flash in terms of the Sky, the Phoenix. They've also picked up double duelist, obviously, or triple flash because you have Omen's Paranoia as well. And they've just gone for that one Sentinel. But again, you're seeing Omen coming in as the controller agent of choice. And now it's going to be on the side of the Mighty Stags to come up with the counter. We know that Blink generally errs towards the Killjoys and the Cyphers, but I expect to see them pick up Killjoy.
Choose your agent.
Very typical Reyna main. Raccoon, I would be very surprised if they don't pick up the Sova. We've seen them play it a huge amount, but then it's on Lychee and Swise to really pick up these aggressive agents and see what they come up with. We see Lychee bringing out the Omen, obviously expected, but Swise, again, going back to that time-honoured Raze, and Blink is going to bring out the Cypher. So the big difference on this one is one has only one or two flashes to get them onto the bomb site, the other has three. But at the same time, if you are on the side of the Mighty Stags, your information gathering capacity is way, way in advance of what the defenders have. And it would be interesting to see how Joey is able to leverage the ability of Sky and the way that the guiding light triggers the sound cue when it does blind. You'll hear Sky go blinded, and that then tells you someone's there. But I think the big battle here is not going to necessarily be on the duelists, which to me are reasonably interchangeable. Sort of your Phoenixes, your Jets, your Reynas, and your Razes are fairly interchangeable on this map because there's so many more bomb sites for Cypher to hide on. Raze holds slightly less priority in terms of killing the Cypher utility because there's so many more places Cypher can be, although they generally have been setting up one trip on the B and then moving into the sort of the garage C area. It's what they can do with this. It's what they can do with the Sky, and then what the Mighty Stags can do with this Sova to try and break these sites open and try and get the information. But it's going to be hard. I think both teams are going to struggle in their initial setup of the Lancaster Bombers defending and the Mighty Stags attacking. But we are about to hit the first round of this best of one. It is the Mighty Stags Lancaster Bombers. Tudors, over to you.
Wow. Not a whole lot of action taking place for the time being, except for Smiley Cereal, opting to get a little bit aggressive over by the A-long portion of the map, and we obviously see Swise and a couple of his teammates lined up over by the garage, as we do see Smiley Cereal opening things up. He's able to shut down Blink with the classics, so already right off the bat, that's a great entry for them, and the deterrent that is supposed to be Seductive Sausage will be felled at the hands of Raccoon and Joe. He wants to get a double for the side of Lancaster Bombers, tosses out a flash as a deterrent as well, but for now, the Mighty Stags, they're going to be felled off just ever so slightly, and it seems as if they're shifting their focus over towards the A-bomb side, and Smiley Cereal, he keeps himself a secret. He finds one first troubles, but that's all he'll be able to accomplish, and just like that, well, Rogue is going to have to turn tail and, well, request reinforcements by the looks of it, as the Lancaster Bombers realize that the take onto the A-bomb site, it's a real danger, and the Mighty Stags, they're so deep into this, they have to commit. Rogue is able to shut down Gun Machine now right over there. Joe is going to shut down Lychee, and just like that, Raccoon is soon to join his fellow fallen comrades in the grave as well. Lancaster Bombers off to a great start despite the fact that they lost the initial entry, and they were able to salvage things out quite dominantly.
Yeah, and the A-bomb site wasn't quite as empty as the Mighty Stags may have appreciated. Almost the perfect trigger discipline there, but Raccoon is able to pick them up before they do too much damage to the attacking Mighty Stags team. But the numbers disadvantage comes in, and we're seeing all of the flash utility coming out from the side of Lancaster Bombers, and they pick up a fantastic first round. Losing that one-on-one gun duel for Blink does remove the Cypher, does remove a lot of that utility, but I do feel that Seductive Sausage didn't do as much as they had wanted to on that push into the garage area. We lost a lot of utility, but we're seeing the buyout here from both sides. We're seeing the force out here from the sides of the Mighty Stags as well. We're seeing Stingers and Spectres in hands from both teams, and not something you expect to see, but this flank's going to be done. Kogo gets the first.
Gumchina is also able to pick up the immediate refrag. The Mighty Stags, they've already forced out a couple of Stingers, a couple of pocket 8-10 Warthogs, and now they've got to roll with it. Once again, they're going to try to hit this A-bomb site hard and fast. Lychee is the only person as the sole point of contact. He will be dealt with, and just like that, the Mighty Stags, they have direct entry to the A-bomb site, and Lancaster Bombers, they can't contest it, at least not yet.
And that went from good to bad to disaster for the side of the Lancaster Bombers. They're already on a sort of the anti-eco buy-up here, but the Mighty Stags are forced bought, and they are making the most of it right now. They're in a 4v3 situation, and the retake side have got their works cut out, and unfortunately, Smiley Cereal, may have cost their side the round. They played a little too aggressive in a 1v4 situation, and they lost out in the gun duel. But we're going to see Joey find one, which does allow Rogue onto the site. They're only going to find one gun. China gets a triple, gets a quadra. But can't close the ace. But it does mean that the Mighty Stags do pull one back. It is 1-1, and if you're on the side of the Lancaster Bombers, that is not what you wanted to see coming out of the Mighty Stags in the first round. This peek out here from Kogo was great, but the second peak probably cost them too much. And Lancaster Bombers caught with their hands in the cookie jar a couple of times this game. Smiley, Cyril, and Kogo both giving their teams a bit of a horrible time, even though Rogue is able to clear up a couple of kills alongside Seductive Sausage. It just wasn't enough at the end of the day. And Gum China showing their proficiency on Reyna picks up the quadra.
Yeah, and just like that, he'll also be able to pick up a Vandal as well to properly reward himself. Early engagements taking place on C-Long, working in the favor of the Mighty Stags, as we have China picking up 2 first troubles. The flash coming out from the Phoenix, as well as the firewall set up as a deterrent, is going to force the Mighty Stags to rotate on-off. But at this certain point, LB, they've lost 2 players so darn early on, and salvaging this round is going to be rather tricky as well. Blink is looking to duel it out between himself and his doppelganger inside of the B-bomb site, but he's fallen off ever so slightly as well, and I believe that the Mighty Stags, well, they've already actually accessed the A-bomb site once again. Lychee's going to plant the spike, and just like that, well, this became much more difficult for Lancaster Bombers to recover from.
But Kogo gets the first one. Raccoon caught with their knife running out there, and Kogo had pushed through the window completely undetected by Blink, although Blink is going to probably repay the favour here. It's utility advantage to the side of the Mighty Stags. We see Blink pick up 2 flank kills, with Kogo does get one back. It's a 1v2, and with the weapon at disadvantage, they're going to fall. It was a close 4 battle, 15 health, but I think the Mighty Stags will be happy with where they are now. If you're on the side of Lancaster Bombers, the second round was a disaster. That one didn't work out too badly for them. They put a lot of economic damage onto the Mighty Stags. You're seeing Spectre or Light Armor and Vandal here, but the Operator out for Rogue, and something we didn't cover too much, and I would like to cover it now before we get to the next round. This is a map that the Operator does have a good amount of pressure on, either on C-Long, as we're seeing Rogue set up here, but also as we've seen at the professional levels, players setting up on A-Long. The likes of Wardell for TSM loves this position, gets that beautiful position. You don't see a lot of defense into sewers, although we are seeing it from the side of Lancaster Bombers. And they just want to take the aggressive positions. But too easy to smoke out C. I think potentially Rogue may set up on A next time round to get a bit more of a free view, but it's a slow push here for the side of the Mighty Stags. Although I have a funny feeling contact may be found sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion that's going to happen as well. On the side of Lancaster Bombers, they do have 2 players actually stacked up over by the A-bomb site, so the response, it could be much more instantaneous than what we have previously seen thus far, but it really depends on the early engagements that are starting to come out. Info Dart, smokes will be tossed in out to cover Heaven, and now the ingress is starting to come on out. Blink is able to shut down Seductive Sausage as the initial entry, and I believe that is the Phoenix that has worked his way up towards Heaven to try to mount this retake. Drops in towards Hell as well, but that was the run it back, so he still has a second shot at redemption right over here. Flash will be tossed out, spots the player over by A-Long, and Rogue is going to join in on the fun as well. Shuts down China. Now the tables have turned. Smiley Serial finds one onto Blink as well, immediately throwing us into a 4v2 scenario. The Mighty Stags, they thought they had all the cards, but no. The dynamic has shifted so drastically. It's all down to Lychee with the Bulldog in hand, and he can't close it out. He will be claimed by Kogo. A triple on the round, and Lancaster Bombers, they're able to tie up the scoreline and call it even Stevens.
And you know what's really great as a Phoenix? When you blow your run it back ultimate, it only has 6 ult points. You don't get anything. But then you drop down and get a triple, and you're halfway back to your ultimate already. 3 of the 6. I know. Even it was just the fact, like, you drop down with, you use the run it back, get nothing. Drop down and just pick up 3 kills. It's just incredible. And Kogo made that round work. Smiley Serial, again, on the flank. We've seen the Lancaster Bombers with a flank player on almost every single round. Kogo or Smiley Serial making those flank plays round when the Mighty Stags do attack A. And A has been the haven to go through so far. And we're seeing already Rogue on a massive aggressive positioning out. Not going to find anyone quite yet, but Lancaster Bombers are making a fight of it. They're not giving the Mighty Stags free access to the wins. They are trying to punish them as much as possible. And Kogo, it was that time round, was able to find it. Bit of a push out from Joey here, not going to find anyone. Swise was able to hide in that cubby area before too much damage was done. But again, the bomb is down. with 4 players. We have 4 players from the side of the Mighty Stags group. One's Blink, the lurker's already gone, and that's not what you want to see. That's a beautiful shot from Kogo out of that garage into the window. And the Mighty Stags with Blink just haven't been able to make this lurk position work properly yet. They're going to do a bit of damage with the paint shells, and now they need to find a way onto the site. The dueling layers come out, the paranoia's in, and the attack begins.
There we go. We have an immediate trade coming out in the Mighty Stags. They have been able to even out the odds, but Joe is going to ensure that Swise is put down and under light. He's going to find one for himself, but Smiley Serial is going to retaliate once again. Joe is going to shut down Lychee as the final frag of the round. Lancaster Bombers off to a very, very decisive start right here on Haven. They managed to find the early engagement, the early entry frag in that particular round, and it basically just forced the Mighty Stags to tremble in their own boots, and they tried to just send it, package and post it directly to the C bomb site, but they were shut down so darn quickly.
Yeah, and if you're on the side of the Mighty Stags, if you're on the side of Blink, they've got a pretty decent score, 4-4-1 so far, but this lurk position they've decided to put themselves in just hasn't been able to work out yet. The difference between Killjoy and Cypher's oh my god, that shot! That was through the cage. Predictive timing absolutely obliterates Raccoon from the game, and player down already. There's a peek coming out. They know they're there. He's going to get another one. Not using utility to get them onto site, not using the leer that was available. They decided to try beat it, and they're punished for it respectively. Although they've got to find the way on site. Lychee's going to get one. He's probably going to get 2. Kogo is there to cover them up.
He certainly is. Now it's all down to Gum China with the Sheriff in hand. He unfortunately can't put it to good work, as Kogo is going to find his 3rd on the round to shut down the reign of the Mighty Stags. And they're not necessarily looking all too mighty right now, unfortunately. Despite the fact that that was an eco round, they were able to cause quite a bit of damage, but I think we can say the exact same thing for Rogue with the op. Finding those 2 initial entries was just perfect. As the cage was being deployed, Dome's Raccoon, things could not have gotten off to a better start for the Jet on the side of the Lancaster Bombers. For Rogue specifically, man, oh man, I cannot wait to see what else he has in store for us for the remainder of Haven.
Yeah, and it was started by Rogue with the opening 2 kills, but it was closed out by Kogo. 2 players taking down all 5 players, the side of the Mighty Stags for a 4-2 lead. And if you're on the side of the Mighty Stags, you have to wonder how he's going to leave it open some of these bomb sites, but in they come. He's going to get taken down before he can release the ultimate, but the Omen ult is into the backside, going to pick one up, going to trade it out straight away with Joey, and a fantastic combination of ultimates used there. We're going to see the Parrot, the From the Shadows, also drop by the side of the Lancaster Bombers. Kogo's getting one, Smiley Serials gets another one before Kogo goes down, and 4-3v2. Bomb still knocked down in the mist.
Oh no, Rogue! Oh, he pulls out the frenzy and he gets the headshot onto Blink as well after a whiffed op shot. And here's Raccoon to get the trade onto Sausage as well. But that is going to leave him in a 1v2 situation. He's in the C bomb site, doesn't even have access to the spike just yet. He has to go for the aggressive peek onto Rogue, working his way into the garage. He will spot out the booty, and he is able to clap it as well. That's his triple on the round. He needs to claim the Quadra for the clutch as well. But instead of working his way back into the C bomb site, he's opting to go the long way. He could potentially catch Serial off guard with his pants around his ankles if the timing is just right. He is just so close to finishing it off, but no! Serial is able to shut him down before things went to worse. And just like that, we have Lancaster Bombers. Well, they're going to keep on maintaining their win streak.
Gonna be honest, that op shot there missed is pretty bad, but then Blink not being able to confirm the kill. Probably not 100% sure where Rogue was, but not 100% sure what Rogue was looking at there. I don't think the Sofa's going to be playing in that position, but Smiley Serial decides to cover it all up. Doesn't manage to pick up the ops. They have to invest in again. And not 100% sure what Rogue's looking at in that position, but 5-2 to the good of the Lancaster Bombers. I don't think you're going to care. And it's back on an eco round for the Mighty Stags. And what we expected to be quite a close affair is not turning out to be so far, but Smiley Serial is in an incredibly dangerous position if they don't get any support and they lose this, although who is up there in the B window area to help them? It's going to be Kogo, but Swise wins both.
Wait, he finds 2? Oh my goodness, that just basically shifts the tides of this entire round thus far. Joe's able to find Lychee as well, but so much chaos has already been caused. Lancaster Bombers, in a blink of an eye, they lost 3 squad members thus far. And now the spike is being planted as well in the B bomb site. This is an explosive start off to the Mighty Stags for their eco round. Now Swise is finally going to bite the dirt as well. well, but at this certain point, Lancaster Bombers, they have to try to contest this. They have got to try to regain a lot of the advantage that they were experiencing thus far, but they're not having it. So many rifles have been recovered on the side of TMS. We can see that the Cypher has already managed to also salvage an operator, but he's going to lose it at the hands of Joe as well. That is a bit unfortunate for TMS. Now Lancaster Bombers, they stand a fighting chance, but that might not be the case. Gumchina is going to shut down Seductive Sausage as well, and now it's all down to Joe. He finds one through the wall as well. That's the triple. Spots the head, but unfortunately enough, yup, it's too late. Clock's going to hit 000. They're both going to lose their lives, but hey, the Mighty Stags, they've finally been able to find a round after quite some time.
Yeah, and as I did say, Smiley Serial incredibly dangerous position. Swise must have been smelling that one out, but then to beat Kogo in a 1v1 duel against the superior weaponry, we know how good the Sheriff is. The one-tap headshots do exist. Blink is able to take out Rogue off camera, picks up the operator, can't make anything of it, but then Joey gets his quadrant, not able to convert into the ace and not able to defuse the bomb, and the Mighty Stags finally pick up a round. It had been going pretty much Lancaster Bombers' way. But now the Mighty Stags need to try and build on this. They cannot afford to lose this round yet again. The advantage has been on the side of Lancaster Bombers so far. But Blink has finally managed to make this lurk play work.
Yeah.
It's can they make it work again and again? Because that's the challenge that the Mighty Stags have, is Blink's not been able to activate fully yet, but they're going to buy Seductive Sausage, and that's a big pick. I don't know exactly what Seductive Sausage was out in that position for, but Blink is able to punish it and give them the advantage. They have an idea that the A bomb site might be open for business as we see Rogue slowly rotating across, but Smiley Serial is already up in their face.
Ooh, read into like a book. Lychee is able to shut him down before Smiley Serial puts an end to them as well. Swise elsewhere on the C bomb site is able to find the head of Joe. And just like that, well, Lancaster Bombers, this spells disaster for them, surely, as Blink is able to shut down Rogue. And now, in a 1v5 situation, we have seen Kogo go big. We have seen him go galactic a couple of rounds throughout this series, finding 3Ks, finding 4Ks as well, but finding an ace, that might be a tall order. He's going to find Swise to immediately throw us into a 1v4 situation, but no. Oh wait, he does? He finds Lychee as well. Now he has control of the spike. He only needs 3 more players to power through, sets up the firewall as well, tosses out a flashbang to cover his 6, but the Hunter's Fury, this could be massive. He finds the 3rd onto Blink, but he can't find the 4th onto Gumchina. The Mighty Stags, they were able to keep him on a leash before things got out of hand.
It kind of did get out of hand, because that was a lot of damage done, and you're seeing the money is low on a couple of players, obviously not as low as it is on the side of the Lancaster Bombers, but I was going to be going into this little bit between rounds going, it's been a bit of a quiet round for Kogo so far, and then he just pops up with a nice triple, almost does close out the round, but too much damage done early by the side of the Mighty Stags. This peak here from Rogue just is not able to find the kill, but Kogo here, he wins the gun duel against
I thought he lost
without,
this.
No, I know. Beautiful observing there, but it was a beautiful observer's flick there, but it was the fact that he was able to win the gun duel against Lychee, who would have had Peak's advantage and knew roughly where Kogo was.
Yeah.
Shows you just how well Kogo's playing this game. And to me, is the player that will most likely drag this team across the finish line, but Seductive Sausage is going to find Blink moving up through that short area. And, well, not just one, the whole team's there. It looks like it's a full push onto this A site.
Definitely so. Lancaster Bombers, they need some extra manpower to help them out. Swise is going to open things up, shut down Sausage, and now, just like that, Raccoon is able to stick the spike as well. Now, the Lancaster Bombers, they're a bit too far away from home to provide some kind of proper retaliation, and it's definitely a mountain to climb in this sense. I'm not exactly sure if they're going to be able to pull it off, since we do have 2 players moving in towards A long, and I believe that is the Omen on TMS that's providing Overwatch as well. The timing needs to be right. Swise is going to shut down Kogo, putting us into a 5v3 scenario, and at this certain point, I think Lancaster Bombers, all they can really hope for is a couple of exit frags, because time is starting to run out.
And Kogo went, Lychee, that is a way to respond to what they were doing, and looks like one's going to fall. They're going to get 1 weapon at least out of this one, but just Kogo wasn't able to execute with the run it back well enough. They're going to spam through the wall, not find anyone else, and the Bucky's not coming up clutch here too much, so there will be a bit of damage, but 5-5 now, and the fact they were able to shut Kogo down so effectively with the run it back available is probably it wasn't what won them round. I think the early picks that they were able to get, again, weapon advantage showing to the 4 there. Unfortunately for Seductive Sausage, he was pretty much on his own for the entirety of that game, and with a frenzy, that's not a great position to be in. And
No,
I think that
not
Mighty
at all.
Stags, probably did much better than they may have expected to, especially against Kogo having access to a weapon. The Bucky's coming in from the flank didn't work out either, and now we're back onto the full buy round. It's whether the Lancaster Bombers can make this Phoenix ultimate work again. It's been efficient so far, but no huge, like, for me, the problem with the Lancaster Bombers right now is their big ultimates, they don't really have any, like, great space opening ultimates. The Seekers are great, but there's no Showstopper, there's no Hunter's Fury, there's no Orbital Strike, but that Showstopper is going to get pulled short and going to get punished for it. Kogo gets the first kill, and that's huge if you're on the side of the Lancaster Bombers.
I think that's the 17th frag of the match thus far. Blink is going to be felled as well. Sausage finds a second, shutting down Gumchina as the paranoia starts to come on through. Lychee's going to be found in some smoke as well. Now Seductive Sausage, he's causing a ruckus. He's wrecking TMS for the time being, aiming to claim that 6th round for LB, but TMS, they're not out of the fight just yet. Raccoon, he wants to take matters into his own hands, but no, he'll be shut down by Smiley Serial, and now it's all down to Lychee in a 1v5 scenario. He still has the ult available, but that might not accomplish a whole too much. I've got to say that, well, the Mighty Stags, they've been doing a brilliant job with their executions thus far, but this particular round, just a bit lackluster, unfortunately.
Of course, it's Kogo to finish off the round. The camera gave away Lychee's position. He decided to shoot the Cypher cam as it came out, and it didn't work out. But this opening kill here, the Showstopper just completely misaligned. Swise not able to get the crosshair in the right place, but then Seductive Sausage in the 1v4 picks up the first 2 kills, closes off the bomb site for business. Nobody allowed here. And it means that the Lancaster Bombers going into the last round of the half have a 6-5 lead, a minimum of a 6-6 result. I think for the side of Lancaster Bombers is a good place to be when you go into the attack. Your composition is designed to attack, and if you've gone 6-6 against this comp, I think that you put yourself in a good position, but they do need to close it out.
Agreed, yeah.
They need another solid round, and it's whether they can then convert on any lead. They do get into the follow-up pistol rounds against the Mighty Stags that have shown themselves to be an efficient team, but Seductive Sausage is going to be on their own. They're not going to be alone for too long as Rogue picks one up straight away, and the next one's going to be seen. The wall hack coming through. One player up high is going to be seen, but they're not going to find anyone once he goes down.
Oh, he was holding on to all of the cards, but Gumchina is able to spot him out and shut him down as well. The spike is going to go down, and I believe TMS, they have popped the Reyna ult as well. Raccoon's Vandal is going to sing a sweet song of death, shutting down Rogue over by Heaven. Now Kogo, in 3v4 scenario, has to try to mount this retake. Smiley Serial is able to join in on the fun, shuts down Lychee, and Gumchina is going to take out Kogo as well. From behind, Joe is going to be put to rest, and that's going to leave Smiley Serial over by the A long, working his way back into the bomb site. He's starting to run out of time. Then he walks right into the LOS of Gumchina. He'll be shut down in TMS. They'll end off the first half with 6 rounds apiece.
Yeah, and I think you're in the side of Seductive Sausage. You're going to have to be kicking yourself for not picking up that kill on Swise. Swise jumped up high on the box. We saw on from the observer point of view of the player that they had line of sight to Swise. They could have gone for it. Instead, the smoke dissipates, the lair still exists, and it means that they aren't able to confirm on that kill, and Gumchina then goes huge with the triple of that round, going up to 14-8-5 for the game, 18-8-3. Unfortunately, still the lead for Kogo, but a 6-6 scoreline on the side of the Lancaster Bombers versus the Mighty Stags. You have to feel poises it beautifully on this proverbial knife edge, and it's going to be who takes the advantage in these pistol rounds might end up running away with a slight lead. And then it'd be interesting to see how they convert on it. The Lancaster Bombers have a lot to prove with these conversions, with only a 3-win record so far. Sorry, the 2-win record so far. And their lives are on the line. The fate is their own destiny, and now they need to try and make these first rounds work.
They certainly do. Obviously, the last time around that we saw, or at least at the very, very start of the matchup, they took the initial pistol round as well, but the Mighty Stag, they decided to force out a couple of stingers, and they were able to take that all to themselves. Lancaster Bombers, they desperately need to take this pistol round, otherwise the situation just becomes a whole lot more dire for them, truth be told. And look at this, Lychee, he's starting to get pushed on, but Swise, he's there to provide proper coverage, proper overwatch, and just domes him with the Sheriff. Now that is a great start off for TMS, not so much so for Lancaster Bombers.
And they're going into this cipher that's set up. They can see the camera at the top. They've finally taken it out as the first hits are coming in. They've decided they want to make the attack. But look at the two players still stood in mid. There's only two players who are attacking this bomb site. Joe's able to find Gum China. That's a great start. But the two flank positions are about to ruin the day for the side of the Mighty Stags as the first player falls.
Rogue, he's perched up towards heaven. He's trying to challenge the duel, and he will win it out over Blink. Now Lychee left in a 1v3 scenario as Rogue is planting the spike, and he is just in a world of hurt for the time being. Works his way towards the connector, and Seductive Sausage is able to take him out. Now, that was a really, really great comeback on the side of Lancaster Bombers. They lost the initial engagement, they suffered the opening casualty, but they still have plenty of fight left in them.
And a beautiful decision to take the site. We're going to see, unfortunately, Koga lose the 1v2, which isn't ideal, but then they decided to take the site as two. They take out Gum China to start with, but then these two players on the flank, Seductive Sausage and Smiley Cereal, absolutely clap the life out of the Mighty Stags retake position. They managed to, the fact that they had two players take a site on their own is hugely impressive to a starting point. But a 4v5, but we're going to see Swy's grenade probably slow this attack a little bit with a bit of damage. Not too much dealt, no Sage, but there is a Sky available. That's something to remember. The Overwatch is going to go in. They need to check this corner as they come forward. There's a Stinger waiting, and it's going to punish them massively.
Oh, he finds two first troubles, tosses out the grenade as well. He will finally be felled, but the damage has already been dealt, and Blink from afar with the Bucky is able to shut down Coco after he was left on probably just a slither of HP. Things have certainly gone from bad to worse for Lancaster Bombers. A near flawless round coming out from the Mighty Stags, and I think that round in particular just really shows us the true colors of the Mighty Stags. If they take the L on the opening round, they will force it out, and they will take the fight directly to their opponents the exact same way that Swy's has right over there. I don't even think that LB knew what hit them.
No, and I was going to ask, do you like a bit of symmetry in your life? And again, we had the symmetry again. The Lancaster Bombers pick up the pistol round, the Mighty Stags win the force back round. And now we're seeing the Lancaster Bombers on the save round, see how much damage they can do to the Mighty Stags. But it all feels a little bit suspicious to what we saw before. And now it's going to be interesting. Again, the aggressive push from the side of the Mighty Stags are going to down Seductive Sausage using the weapon advantage. 3 players pushing down. They completely punish. But Joey with a beautiful kill, catching Swy's with a utility out in their hand. And it's a 4v4. Despite the weapon disadvantage, you're going to see the side of the Mighty Stags pulling back. They don't want to challenge if they don't have to. Sky has a huge amount of utility, although not anymore.
I think that was Lychee managing to actually salvage the Vandal as well, and Raccoon, he remained a secret for so very long, shuts down Smiley Cereal, puts him to rest. Could potentially recover that Vandal as well to make these gunfights a tad bit more favorable, but regardless, the fact that they have a one-man advantage is all they really need. But look at this! Rogue, he just dashes straight on into the bomb site, shuts down Raccoon, and Kogo is there to assist his teammate, finds Blink, and now it's all down to Gum China with the SMG in hand. Shoots out the Leer, but oh, look at this!
Run.
Look at this from Lancaster Bombers. They're actually going to turn tail and head over towards the A bomb site. They don't want to challenge Gum China on the Reyna. They know what he's capable of doing, and they want to play the safe. This is a 10,000 IQ play coming out from the attack.
Yeah, and it's decent to expect. They know that Gum China's playing effectively their spawn side of the map. There's no point challenging if they don't have to. They have low health on Rogue at the moment, although a Phoenix with almost full health is still pretty scary, but they've managed to pick up the weapons, and this round was blown all the way open by, yet again, Smiley Cereal, getting a beautiful flank through the garage. They completely took us apart the other team, and yeah.
Well, nice reactions, though.
Rogue was about 10 HP, so anything's going to be good at that point, but Kogo's going to close it out, keep the Vandal for themselves, and a pretty disastrous round on the side of Mighty Stags. They started off so well getting with Seductive Sausage on this first bit, but then they re-peak, they get the kill, and even though they lose the play, just look where Smiley Cereal is, has walked their way in, they get the kill with the Ghost, beautifully done, traded out, but then they dash in by Rogue, completely getting around the Cypher, around the Owl drone, takes Raccoon out before the knocks hit them, and it's a 1v2, and even though they do get the kill there, it's not enough. Kogo has Rogue's back. They get a beautiful crossfire set up, and this time it seems like the Mighty Stags are a little bit more hesitant to make any aggressive plays out towards the side of the Lancaster Bombers, especially with how the last one went. But Gum China's going to do a decent chunk of damage. But the key point, you have Phoenix and Sky available. As long as Sky's not the player losing the health, you can always heal them players back up to 100 health. even with Odin in hand for the side of Seductive Sausage, trying to get rid of the armor on that door, try and find some information, some players. Rogue going to peek up this long angle. Not going to find anyone yet, but they're going to see the first player, and Rogue dooms Swise.
I was honestly expecting Swise to win out that gunfight. Running back will be popped, and now Lychee, oh man, despite being flashed and despite being ripped in the face by a dog, he is able to find one first troubles as well. So immediately the Mighty Stags, they're able to at least deter LB away from the bomb site, and now they're gonna have to try to think twice before where they decide to strike, as time is starting to run on out. Now, John, you're a massive fan of Pokemon, right?
I would like to say that I am a fan of
Alright,
Pokemon.
well,
yeah, I'd say that.
That's all I need. Well, now, Lancaster Bombers, they desperately need Pokemon 102 on their side. Execute, because they only have 25 seconds left, and they've got to execute onto the bomb site. Joe is able to shut down Gum China. Smiley Cereal comes in for the second, shuts down Raccoon, and now TMS left in a 4v2 situation. They cannot stop this spike plant. It is inevitable, but they can potentially mount a retake. It is a tall task. It's a tall order to accomplish, but it's still within the realm of possibility.
Yeah, and it went from bad to scary for the side of the Mighty Stags. They did have a beautiful first opening play. Yes, they lost the first player, but when they took down Kogo's, obviously, clone from the run it back, why did they continue to chase? They know it's a judge in a narrow corridor. Why would you challenge into a weapon like that? But it doesn't matter. Seductive Sausage gets rid of Blink, and it's all going to pieces for the side of the Mighty Stags. They're going to be 2 down, and I don't think Lychee's going to do enough. Kogo's going to shut it down, take them out in their prime, send them to the Shadow Realm, if you will. And they're going to find themselves 2 down. And if you're the Mighty Stags, this is not where you want to be. Kogo is turning up massive in this game. They realise what's at stake. They cannot afford their team to go down. And after this, it was... I understand the point that they felt they were concussed, but they just ran in and...
Yeah.
This is a judge we're talking about here. It has a massive hitbox. And they absolutely punish him. He gets another decent chunk onto the next player. Takes a little bit of damage, but the damage is already done to the side of Lancaster Bombers. This going down here, again, taking it down, but then a beautiful set of shots from Smiley Cereal managed to close the round out, and it's 9-7 to the side of Lancaster Bombers. They've managed to find the weaknesses in the Mighty Stags' armor when they haven't been aggressive. And I think, well, I say that. I say when they haven't been aggressive, but that's 1 down. That was a pretty good shot from Swise, I'm not going to lie. And I was about to wax lyrical over how well the Lancaster Bombers have played these opening rounds.
Also, a nice little GG spray onto the wall from Swise. I like that. I would have honestly rather preferred like a good morning, because that definitely was a how do you do coming out from Swise. But Lancaster Bombers, well, they find themselves in a 5v4 situation right now with their eyes peeled over towards the B-bomb site, as they are opting to stack right out of it. And Kogo, he shuts down Raccoon as he was mid-rotate. But look at this. They've actually vacated the entire C-bomb site. Now Smiley Cereal, he can potentially shut down Swise, or at the very least, take him out of the bomb site. Showstopper will be popped on out, but it doesn't land onto anybody. Seductive Sausage finds one. Lychee and Gum China. Lychee with a second. Shuts down the sausage himself, and now, unfortunately enough for Smiley Cereal, he teleports right into Lychee's LOS, and there was so much action taking place, I probably would not even be able to recall a single bit of it. It was an all-over-the-place kind of round. Yeah, I completely agree. It looked like it was going really well for the side of the Mighty Stags, and then, well, disaster struck. They lost 3 players in about 2 seconds. Nice opening kill, but then Lychee and Gum China, beautiful combination there together. They managed to take them all out. The teleport here a little bit too far. It gives Lychee the lineup, but the triple comes in for the Omen for the Mighty Stags, bringing it back to 8-9. But the full buy is available yet again for both teams, but they need to start respecting Swise on this operator. They've got one already, but the first arrow is not going to find anything. Kogo's in a beautiful position to punish. And they're already leaving A. That's really interesting. Wow. A bit premature. That's got me raising my eyebrows and stroking my chinny chin chin. Hunter's Fear is going to be popped on Raccoon. It's not going to bear any fruit for the time being. Someone. Deals a tad bit of damage onto, I believe that is Rogue, but it's simply not enough to put him down and under. So, I don't know if exactly, I don't know if I would dub that wasted utility, I really can't say, but Coco, he goes on the aggressive and he'll be instantly punished by Raccoon. Smoke grenades will be popped as well, but Gum China, he is still the first primary line of defense. He finds the head of Rogue as well, and now LB, they're left in a 3v4 situation as Joe is able to shut down Lychee, and they are trying to get an execute mounted onto the C-bomb side. Smiley Serial, the spray, it doesn't land the shots that are needed. Joe, he's got 2 players walking into his general direction, finds one onto Gum China, and that is going to even out the odds ever so slightly. It is a 2v3 scenario, and Serial has got to plant this spike right here, right now. Blink taking the initiative, working his way back into the C-bomb side, looking to challenge any gunfight whatsoever. He finds the head of Joe. Smiley Serial in a 1v3. It's all down to him for this 10th round. He finds one onto Swice, looks for the next as well, teleports right into Raccoon's LOS, and that's the end of him, unfortunately enough. The Mighty Stags, they're once again able to equalize the scoreline.
And it was something we were critical a little bit about of the Mighty Stags. Too many dry peeks into these bomb sites, going in without the utility, and we saw Kogo try to do the same. They flash one way, but it doesn't flash the C connector into B, and they were taken down by Raccoon to start, and it just kind of went downhill from there. They were able to pick up a couple of nice kills. Joe doesn't quite confirm the second kill onto Swise, but then it's in a 1v3. That
should have been a collat. In all honesty, that could have been a collat.
It could have been. It just wasn't enough for the crossfire setup, and it's going to close it out. And the Mighty Stags just showing the prowess they have. But again, we see another buy coming in for the side of the Lancaster Bombers. And also the Mighty Stags, economy-wise, are not in a good place. They have the operator, but after this round, if they lose this round, they are going back to the saver pistol rounds apart from one player. And as much as we've seen a couple of good rounds for the Mighty Stags, a couple of really strong holds, it just isn't coming together fully for them.
Oh. JP? Oh, I'm not exactly sure what has happened right there, and then I believe JP may have, he may have accidentally DC'd. I can currently not hear my co-caster, but we shall be carrying on upwards and onwards and upwards. Regardless, though, the execution is starting to actually be put in motion on the side of Lancaster Bombers as 2 ults have been popped out. Plenty of information to work with on the side of the Mighty Stags, and we will see Gum China be the first to be felled. Blink is going to retaliate, shutting down Seductive Sausage, and now, well, Lancaster Bombers, they need to set down the spike. They need to transition us into a post plant, and that's exactly what's on the menu. Now, the Mighty Stags, they're outside, they're isolated away from the bomb site. They have got to try to mount this retake as Lychee's able to shut down Kogo. Smiley Serial gets the immediate trade onto Raccoon, and now it's a 3v3 situation with Smiley Serial being somewhere elsewhere entirely. Joe is able to find Blink. Lychee gets the immediate trade onto Joe, and now we're back in a 2v2 situation. This round is still far from over. I don't know exactly what Swise is planning, but it's something so fiendish, so devilish. He's able to just pass right over Rogue's head, giving Lychee the room to find a third as well, leaving Smyrl in a 1v3, and it's going to be turned into a 2v none. The Mighty Stags, specifically Swise, he holds onto that operator, he claims the final frag for the defense, and my oh my, was that the round that TMS needed the most.
There. Get out of my way.
Well, we do have a couple of technical issues going on in the background. I believe that my co-caster JP is experiencing a couple of audio issues, so we will try to actually get him back in the call as soon as possible. I believe that is him I'm hearing in the background. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Technology can be a pain. I do agree with you sometimes, but regardless, let's get back to the matchup. We do see Lancaster Bombers. They're inside of the garage, practically stacked up entirely, and they're looking to try to take control of the C bomb site, but they are going to meet quite a lot of resistance. Swise is able to open things up by shutting down Kogo, and now Lychee tosses out a Paranoia as well as the main deterrent. But look at this, the aggressive play from Gum China is able to find the head of Rogue. Now the retake, well, the Mighty Stags didn't even need to retake anything. They just did it simply for shits and giggles. Lychee's able to shut down Joe, and now Lancaster Bombers, well, they do have the A-bomb site, but they do have a two-man disadvantage. This isn't looking all too bright, but Smiley Serial finds one onto Swise, looks for the second, and shuts down Lychee as well. Now, it's all even Stevens. The Mighty Stags, they have got to make this retake happen right now because they have suffered too many losses. Seductive Sausage, with the Bucky in hand, finds the head, but not the kill. That should not have happened. Now Smiley Serial goes into a much more favorable position, but Gumchine is going to clear him up, and that is the 11th round for the Mighty Stags. They are now on a roll. I believe that John is going to be working his way back into the VMix call, so we are just going to have myself solo cast until all of our technical issues behind the scene have been sorted, but not to worry, it shouldn't take all too long. This particular shot from Seductive Sausage, smack right to the melon, with an actual buckshot. At that certain range, you know, you're not shooting ducks in the sky, you are shooting a human being from CQB, and you're not able to clean him up. That is something that Seductive Sausage is probably going to be kicking himself about, and probably just cursing the Riot devs as well.
Goes back. They have some information on where players are. The Seekers is also going to go in, going to find one player only. The Smiley Serial in that beautiful flank position already. The spam through the wall isn't going to find a lot. But two players are holding down this B on this C side for the side of the Mighty Stags, and they're going to find one in. And Rogue, beautiful use on the guiding light to get the blind. And they are going to get 2 for 1 so far. Rogue's going to be the third, and it's 4v2, and one player is on the wrong side of the map.
Uh-oh. Well, this isn't all too bright for TMS. Kogo's able to stick the spike down as well, and, well, I'm not exactly sure what the options are for TMS right over here. If he's able to find one, he could potentially do a little tip of the hat, probably say Milady as well and get some info, but there's no real point in doing so either. Rogue is able to find a massive quadra-kill in that round right over there, and Lancaster Bombers, they find their 10th, just one round away from calling it even Stevens once again. I personally think that overtime, definitely within the realm of possibility right here between these two squads.
Definitely agree with that, and I think it's going to be hard for how they do find their way back through this. Again, it's one of those ones where the Mighty Stags are in the prime position, they have the lead, but the Lancaster Bombers are showing a lot of grit, a lot of fight to get their way back into this, and it's no longer Kogo who is solo carrying this team. Joe has also come to the fore, they're picking up the kills as well, and the Guardian for Swise, they've been great on the operator. We'll have to see how they do with this less accurate but ever so devastating weapon now in their hands. Yeah. But the Overwatch isn't going to find anyone. They know they're attacking the A-side site, and the rotate is on already. 2 players in, the third is ready, and then a lot of ultimates on the side of the Mighty Stags, albeit with some pretty not the ideal weapons that you would want in this fight currently.
Nah, it's they're on a semi-buy or a half-buy or whatever you would tend to dub it as. It's a bit of a tricky position that they find themselves in. Regardless, though, Swise with the Guardian is able to shut down Rogue. That definitely bodes well for them, to say the very, very least, and I believe that, well, Lancaster Bombers, they've got their eyes peeled over towards this A-bomb site, as well as potentially causing a bit of commotion over towards mid as a bit of a distraction as well, but they are currently lined up. They're able to find the head of Blink, and, well, just like that, access has been granted to the A-bomb site. Kogo's able to shut down Gum China as well, and now they have zero contention to worry about. They can get the spike down scot-free, and just like that, it's a post-plant.
Yeah, and it was only there's only a couple of players on the side of Raccoons that had access to weapons. We're seeing, obviously, a frenzy in the hands there of Raccoon. They are going to find where the tripwire was, but the spike is down, and 3v4, it's still doable now, but Joey on a beautiful post location for any sort of flank. This arrow is going to come down from the heavens on top of Seductive Sausage. He's about to lose a lot of health. If it tags the right place, they're going to move in time. Oh, they went too early.
Oh, Raccoon is able to bring us back down to a 1v2 scenario with the Stinger in hand, but unfortunately, that's all he'll be able to accomplish in that particular round right over there. Lancaster Bombers, they find the 11th. And, you know, on the subject of that arrow, it was just falling. Yeah, once again, here on screen. You know what this reminds me of?
What does it remind you of?
It reminds me of that one scene from the first movie, Grown Ups, the first Grown Ups movie. Have you seen it?
I have.
Where they shoot an arrow up
into
the sky,
remember,
and yeah, exactly.
I mean,
that was a good scene.
I mean, to be fair, if you're talking about scenes that come across well, I think Kogo's swan dive from heaven, back-to-back swan dives from heaven to take out the team in one of the earlier rounds was pretty Assassin's Creed style. That was pretty dope, I'm not going to lie. Did enjoy that a lot, but yes, hopefully technological issues are sorted now, but Rogue could be the first place to find a kill. They're going to see one there, and they're going to make a rapid dash back to the seaside site. The smokes are going to go out to cover any post-aggression. 2 players are posted up here from the side of the Mighty Stags. May make some aggression hard, but the first flashes are going to come out and do a little bit of damage, but nothing that can't be repaired over time, especially with Phoenix's hot hands ability and with Sky's heal as well. You're pretty able to top up your team as well.
Definitely so. Now Lancaster Bombers, well, they've already expended quite a bit of time. They have less than a minute left to work with, and they have yet to really create any openings for themselves. I believe that, you know, a C take is definitely on the cards. It's definitely on the table, and certainly still within the dining room itself. And now it's starting to be put in motion as well. Run it back is going to be dealt with rather easily, but that grants Rogue the follow-up. Shuts down Lychee, so now they have access to the bomb site. They can smoke off each and every single entryway, get that spike down, and force the Mighty Stags to mount up some kind of retake, potentially even bait out their ults.
Oh, beautiful play by Swise. Gets 2 as well, and 4v3 is still hard. China has popped the Empress ultimate. It's the best way to retake this site, and it's critical that they do find something now. The spike is still not down yet, although it is going down now. A lot of low health players, and China's going to pick the first one. Oh my goodness.
Raccoon is able to shut down Ju, and now China, he's just on janitor duty, just cleans up Kogo. And just like that, we have the Mighty Stags. Brilliant response. I wanted to say brilliant, like great brilliant, but that's not really a word, unfortunately. But I will make it so. A brilliant response coming out from the Mighty Stags. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, this particular entry from Lancaster Bombers, Galactic. Great use of the run it back to bait out and distract one of the TMS players. And the follow-up from Rogue was just perfect. But this response from China, popping the Empress, it was the chef's kiss.
And it was all Swise all the time that I think pulled the Mighty Stags back into contention in that round. They got the first kill as Smiley Serial tried to push in through Garage after the neural theft had gone down, revealing the location, but then to turn back into the main of C, and get Rogue as well and put them in a 4v3 situation after Lychee went down immediately. But Swise is going to be in an interesting position. We saw Smiley Serial here earlier, and it didn't quite work out there, but now they need to try and make this one work again. It is match point, and it is all on the side of Lancaster Bombers to make this work. The Bladestorm is also popped, so they have all of their cards on the table now. They know what's available, they know what's happening, but they have to be so careful of Swise in such a great position down on these steps. At the same time, if no one peeks there, it's in a bad position. Seductive Sausage goes down to a beautiful shot from Raccoon, and on site now, there is a player in heaven. Oh, they get away from it.
He triggers the tripwire, but narrowly managed to dodge death as well. Now Blink realizes that the execution is being put into motion. China is able to clap onto Smiley Serial as well. And from, I don't even know where Blink was standing, but he's able to shut down Joe. And now Lancaster Bombers in a 2v5 situation. They need a miracle to happen right here to force us all the way to OT. But the Mighty Stags, they don't want to bite. No! Rogue is going to walk right into the open arms of Swise. He finds the second as well onto Kogo, and despite LB's best efforts, 11 rounds is all they will receive, and I believe that also, unfortunately, just knocks the possibility for them to work their way into the top 8 straight out of the park as well.
Yeah, and that does, yes, you're right, and you do rightly point out that is them eliminated from top 8 contention. It was always going to be an uphill struggle, but I'll tell you what, they made it hard for the Mighty Stags, but I believe that almost It doesn't guarantee the Mighty Stags top 8, but it definitely makes their life a lot easier. They can now lose the next round and still make it, going up to 6 points. It'll obviously be interesting to see how the other results are coming in. That is a big scoreline, 11-13. That was a big, long old game. The fact it allowed me to have technical issues and get back on the cast before too many rounds had gone, which was fantastic.
It definitely was.
And for the side of the Mighty Stags, it's a critical win. It's definitely a critical win to pick up. And I think that if you're on the side of the Lancaster Bombers, you'll be kicking yourselves that you lost some of these rounds that potentially were winnable for you. Kogo did their best. I have to doff my cap to Kogo.
25 kills.
They did so well. And they only just missed out on match MVP by a couple of combat scores. And there is a bright spark for the Lancaster Bombers team. They just need to iron out the... what's the best way to say it? Weaknesses that they demonstrated when they decided to dry peak sites with too many angles to look at.
And they were full, but I follow.
It's a hard one, right? Both teams made mistakes, but it just felt that the Lancaster Bombers were much more punished than the Mighty Stags were.
True.
And the potential coordination of the post-plant positioning wasn't quite there from the Lancaster Bombers. You felt that there was a little bit of a solo queue mentality in some of their post-plant positions rather than their sort of 5-player grouped decision-making. And I feel that may have put them at a slight disadvantage in some of the rounds. That takes nothing away from the fact of how well they did play, and they did make this varsity tournament in the first place. So definitely on the up and up. They have a lot of good things to pick up from this one, and they've got one more match to play before they do unfortunately leave us for this series of the Null. But they have put up a good showing, and they've really made Mighty Stags work hard. And I think if you're the side of Mighty Stags, you're hoping that the next game isn't quite as close as that one.
Yeah. Definitely so. It is a bit of a gut-wrenching defeat for Lancaster Bombers, but regardless, they did put up a really, really great fight for us right here against the Mighty Stags, almost able to edge out OT as well. It could have definitely kept them in the running, but unfortunately enough, that would have all taken place in an alternate reality as well. We are starting to also see some of the results start to swarm on in, and I think that these definitely just deserve their own segments. So we are going to quickly just run through these super duper quick before we hop onto the break so we can prepare for the next matchup. But let's just spitball these. Cecil's Finest, they're able to take a dub over the Dire Wolves, 13-8. Immoral Free, they're at the top of the rankings and they're able to edge out a victory, 13-11, the 24th and final round of regulation over the Bad Omens. And Blue Jays and Rootkit, they lost to ATS, Apes Together Strong. That's gotta burn.
It's not that it's got to burn, but it's now a 3-way tie for 8th place in the standings between Apes Together Strong, Bad Omens, and the Warwick Direwolves. The Warwick Direwolves and Apes and Bad Omens came in at 4 points coming into this round, but Apes Together Strong taking down the Blue Jays does mean that they also go to 4 points. And in terms of the other rounds, I think we've just had another one's just come in. Brunel do take down the Reading Knights 80, which does mean that they level up that score. The main thing from all of those results is Immoral Free, I think, are now guaranteed first seed, I believe, because they go... No, they're not guaranteed because Cecil Finest also continue to stay 1 point behind them. So at the moment, first place seeding is a straight fight between the Cecil's Finest and Immoral Free. And in the next round, Immoral Free take on Portsmouth Paladins and Cecil's Finest take on Bad Omens. Bad Omens need to win that one if they want to stand a chance to get in top 8. But the 3 big results is the fact that ATS win their match against the Blue Jays and Rootkit, which means that Blue Jays and Rootkit continue on 5 points. So they're not safe either. Because again, if they lose again,
nobody is.
It's a really weird situation. So you've got 3 teams now at 4 points. Apes Together Strong, Warwick Direwolves, and Bad Omens, which is obviously great for us because we get to see a real tight run-in. But if you're on 5 points still, the likes of Portsmouth Paladins, who are currently playing against the Arctic Foxes, Blue Jays and Rootkit, you're still only 1 win above the 3 teams on 4 points. And you may find yourself going home if you're not careful, and it'll then, I imagine, come on the count back of who was able to win in the head-to-heads.
Yeah.
But even on the side of Lancaster Bombers, was not the score you wanted to have. It was not the result you wanted, but they've performed admirably in this event. Again, these are some of the best teams we have ever seen within the University UK Valorant scene. And I think to take the games off of the teams they have, they've performed incredibly well, and they have a team that can be built on top of the level it is now. A few things to iron out, a few things that they can pick up on, but generally a great starting point going forward. And I really wish them all the best, that they are able to build on this, continue in the next series of the Null, and keep going from here and make it back to the next Varsity. It'd be great to see them there again, especially Kogo. Love Kogo. Really love that Phoenix play. Really, really nice.
He went absolutely galactic in that previous matchup. 25 kills to his names, but Lancaster Bombers, chin up, lads. You guys did well, and there's certainly more action to come, as is there here on the channel as well. There's still plenty of exciting stuff to come and plenty of exciting stuff to discuss after the break. So make sure to go ahead and grab yourself a snack, a beverage, whatever it may be, and we will see you back here in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, really nice hold.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to the Newell. We've had a bit of an interesting evening thus far. A couple of bumps, a couple of hiccups, and now, well, things they're starting to transpire in a rather interesting manner. We did touch on the score lines that have begun to come through in the interim as well, and we still don't have a clear picture of who those top 8 teams are. John, it could literally be anyone at this point.
Exactly. Well, with the results that have come through, and we are still waiting on one more. We're waiting on the results of the Arctic Foxes match, which is against, if I'm not mistaken, Portsmouth Paladins. They're still playing out their 10th round match at the moment. Yep. But the big results that came through is currently the Apes Together Strong have managed to leapfrog their way above the Warwick Direwolves and the Bad Omens into 8th place. They managed to take down the Blue Jays and Rootkit in what I would imagine is a bit of a surprise and a little bit of an unfortunate result there for the Blue Jays and Rootkit, but Apes Together Strong really pulling it out. The Direwolves and Bad Omens both lost their respective matches, so now they're on the outside looking in, and they're the ones with the big game to win. And of all the big games you'd want to see them up against, it's going to be the Warwick Direwolves versus the Reading Knights A team, and it's a bit of a final boss you don't want to be coming up against. You might want to be looking at potentially the Lancaster Bombers, Arctic Foxes style of team at the end, not the team that currently sits in, well, 5th place currently, will likely go back to 3rd place if they are able to take out the Arctic Foxes, but that match is still going on, so if anything, that match is in overtime, and the Arctic Foxes are putting up a bit of a strong finish to this event. But yeah, if you're a Warwick Direwolves fan, a Bad Omens fan, or an Apes Together Strong fan, then it's potentially a little bit touch and go going into this final round. But I do want to point out that it's not the only people who are not going to be feeling confident right now. Any team sat on 5 points, the Blue Jays and Rootkit, and potentially Portsmouth Paladins, it depends on that result. There's still to come through against the Arctic Foxes. If those 2 teams are on 5 points, then any team on 4 are still live to make it ahead of them. And in theory, if, say, Apes Together Strong, Warwick Direwolves and Bad Omens all won, and Blue Jays and Portsmouth Paladins lost and stayed on 5, it's a 5-way tie for the last 3 spots.
Yeah,
and it's going to be...
It all comes down to round differential. And if we see, like, for example, teams curb stomping each other, it hasn't necessarily happened all too often, but if we suddenly see, like, 13-0s, 13-1s, then some teams, such as ATS and the Direwolves, who are now at the very bottom of the barrel, have a real chance of actually working their way back up into the playoff stages.
Yeah, you got to hope that your games have been close. Let's put it that way. But it's a fascinating way to finish, and actually, from what previously was it was looking like it was close, has got in some ways even closer than it was before.
It really has.
In a strange way. And the Portsmouth Paladin match versus Arctic Foxes could make it even closer. Like if Portsmouth Paladins win, they are. I think if you're on 6 points, you're guaranteed top 8 because the 4 points team cannot jump you. And again, the 4 points teams, if the 2 5s go to 6, then the 4 points are only playing over 8th place. So you're guaranteed to make it into the top 8. But if you lose to the Arctic Foxes, you are in a hard situation that you still have to win out your last winning in and get to that 6 points because then you make it in. And I think, again, 6 points now is the magic bubble of you're guaranteed top 8 and you're guaranteed into that sort of double elimination top 8 bracket. If you don't, you're at 5, you're still, the fate of your fate is still in your own hands.
Yeah.
But if you lose, then it's very much in someone else's hands as to whether you make it through. And again, it's the likes of Warwick Direwolves, the likes of the Bad Omens team, and obviously Apes Together Strong can turn it on when needed. I'm very surprised that the likes of Warwick Direwolves, they haven't had a good tournament so far. To be in a position where only 4 wins, and we're looking at a champion team from other events, and they made the finals of the Null versus the Reading Knights team. To be in a position of only having 4 points and being on a fight for your life to make the Varsity double elimination top 8 bracket, I would never have expected them to be in this position.
Neither would I. No, obviously the Direwolves, they technically had their own sort of dynasty, if you will, in the university scene of Valorant. We saw that in the subdivision of UKV as well. They were winning championships over there, if I'm not mistaken, 2 seasons back to back, potentially even a third. You'll have to quote me on that.
It was one. It was just the first 2 were Blue Jays and Brootkit. So Blue Jays and Brootkit. Yeah, so Brootkit took down the first 2. Warwick Direwolves took down the third one.
And it was...
But they were dominant.
They were extremely dominant, don't get me wrong, but it's also really, really surprising to see like how the mighty have fallen in the form of the Direwolves, and now having to go up against the former grand finalists of Reading Knights A. Well, there's so much baggage between these two teams that we do have lined up for our final broadcasted match of the regular season. And really, the ball, it's simply in the Direwolves' court this time around. Can they edge out a victory? It's going to be a really, really tough one, as you said, and I think this is probably going to be the highlight of this evening. This is the final boss for them, and they have got to get a dub.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see where we go. We do have the map vetoes in. Don't know if you want to run us through them quickly, Tudors, but it's going to be an interesting choice. It is going to be a different map, and that's the main thing that we want to see. Trying to run something different on this one.
Yeah, so Noah, my beautiful producer, go ahead and actually show us the veto of exactly which war zone we shall be visiting for our final matchup. It is going to be Ascent for our final best of 1 series between the Direwolves as well as Reading Knights A. A map which we are relatively accustomed with as well, and personally I wouldn't be able to call it which way whatsoever. It could go either way. I just really got I got my money towards the Direwolves because I love myself a good underdog story, to be completely honest. I'm not a biased caster, by the way.
No, definitely not. And no one would ever accuse you of being a biased caster, apart from me. But that's just because I get to take the nick out of you because we cast so much together, and it's one of the enjoyable bits that we get to do in our lives. But don't get me wrong, I love the Warwick Direwolves. They've gone through a massive transformation in this split of all of their tournaments. They lost 2 of their key players, and they've been replaced obviously by Curry Monster and by the Inventor, who have come in as these new pickup players. One as the controller, and obviously Curry Monster, that sort of renowned carry player from the duelist role, to mix up with the likes of Fornic and the other players on that team. But it's not necessarily gelled to the way they want it to sit so far. And there's clearly a lot of teething issues that the Warwick team are still going through. And it's just unfortunate that they haven't been able to settle them out within the current split, whether it's going to take a little bit longer to get back to this point. But you would feel that that these players are good enough to have gelled by now. And something's not working within the Warwick Direwolves camp. Can't put my finger on it. Don't know what it is exactly, but we want to see this team back on top. We want to see this team really fighting for these championships yet again. And again, we're only talking split to split. It's not like, after 3 years of dominance, they've suddenly dropped off. It's only after 1 split. But even after 1 split, it's a bit of a shock to see them certainly struggling so much in a field that they have dominated in previous series of the Null.
Yeah, that's entirely true, and don't get me wrong, technically it can be quite the bit of a chore when you have your chemistry as a squad actually shake up that drastically. Replacing 2 players just like that, it is a relatively difficult task to overcome. I myself am not a player. I can only imagine and speculate that it would be. But obviously, one would suspect that over the past couple of weeks, we've technically been in the midst of this Varsity series through the regular season for the past 4 to 5 weeks thus far, and these teams have basically been playing 2 matches in the evening right here at the Newell, as well as other platforms, other tourneys and championships regardless, as well as scrimming in the background. You would assume that by now that the Direwolves, they would have had enough time to find their stride and hit the ground running, but unfortunately enough, they just haven't necessarily been able to hit that sweet spot. This is technically their last shot at doing so.
Yeah, and it is the last chance saloon for the Warwick Direwolves team, and if you're a high level university player, you're really looking now at how do I set myself up to succeed post university. The pro teams are always looking for the new sort of talent that's coming out, and we saw the 2 teams enter Epic LAN from the university scene. We had obviously Sniper Monkeys entered as one of them, but then SUPD entered as sort of the greatest hits of UK university Valorant. Like Prophet was on their team from the Reading Knights A team, Maximus was on there as well, and they didn't do very well. Now, that's not necessarily because they're not great teams, but SUPD did get matched into the group of Wave Esports, and that game wasn't close. And now Wave are one of the professional teams sort of pushing for the VCT Masters positions. But if you're one of these players at university level and you're really looking for where's your future take you and is your future destined within the game of Valorant, then these are the times you really need to sort of step up to the plate and show your quality and really start to stand out, as we saw some of those individual players did at Epic LAN. And I think that there's never a bad time to show how good you are. We've seen it before, but it's then that consistency and how they then pick it up from these bad patches. Because if you go through a bad patch such as what Warwick are now, if you cannot pick that up, not just in this game, but if you win this game also in the top 8, the double elimination bracket, you don't want to be going home after 2 games. And then taking it through into the next series, the next split, you really need to dig deep and find a way of breaking that spell, because if you can't break the spell now, it's just going to be a disaster going forward.
Yeah, complacency is a really, really challenging opponent to overcome, regardless, for a lot of these teams. And obviously, Epic is a bit of an entire different story, because don't get me wrong, it is a really, really challenging time for a lot of teams where you have to perform consistently, like 14 hours a day for 3 days straight. It's a different story entirely. But right here at the Newell, let's get back to the matter at hand. It's Ascent between Warwick Direwolves and Reading Knights on Ascent. And my oh my, this is going to be a treat regardless as to which way it goes.
Yeah, we're seeing players pretty much picking up what you call their typical agents of choice, ones that we have seen a lot of confidence on. Lay 5 or Levy has picked up Breach for the side of Warwick Direwolves, and we're looking at Levy, the Inventor, and Curry Monster being those 3 new players that have joined this roster. Curry Monster making their debut this series, having moved to the Warwick University. And I think if you're on this Warwick side, something needs to click sooner rather than later. We saw them early on, we did cast them, and there were some very big points. Obviously, we know how good Fornic is as a leader, as a player, and Wen has always been that stalwart. But you just look at the side of Juma and Mirati, Ego Peak, Matty, and Prophet, and you just have to wonder, how do they break this team? This team has been together for ages. And as you can see from 2 of their names, the SUPD name on 2 of their players, that is the team they play together as outside of Reading University. So they play for Reading in the university leagues and SUPD out of that. And they are taking their game to the highest level. They are starting to enter these big LAN events, well, offline at the moment, but potentially LAN at some point, and they've shown to be really good. But it's going to be interesting what they can do. Curry Monster's going to find the first one, but it's going to be pushed straight back out with the Paranoia. Can they find it now between 2 players? It's a very aggressive push out by Matty and Ego Peak, and Matty's going to clean the first one, and Ego Peak the second.
That is not the foot you want to get off on if you're on the side of the Direwolves. Losing that initial gunfight, well, it was a 2v2. It doesn't bode for you well on the long term. Levy is able to shut down Prophet before he's able to cause any more chaos with that classic in hand, but that does throw us into a 4v2 scenario with the Direwolves now left with just one player standing. That is Wen on the Killjoy. He has the opportunity to get the spike down, but it is a really, really steep hill to climb from this moment onwards. He will spot out one player, shuts down Ego Peak as well, so that does stabilize things ever so slightly. Finds Juma as well. Now this is starting to look so much more winnable. He finds the player onto Maddie, claims the triple, put a gun against his head, pull the trigger, now Wen's dead. Omrity is able to clean him up, and before things got a little bit too complicated for Reading Knights, they're able to close it out.
Oh, we know Wen is good. Wen performs this beautiful lurk roll for the side of the Direwolves, but they weren't lurking in that one. They were popping heads with that classic, and they almost made it work. The first kill there onto Ego Pete, using the weakness applied by the alarm bot, and a beautiful headshot and finish onto Juma, and it was looking so good. But they just couldn't win the gun duel here against Amirati. The Ghost with only 73 health, and Amirati should always come out on top of that one. But Wen really showing some strength here as the second round's in. Wen already trying to slow this attack down. And the the dueling Killjoys have to see how this one does go.
Man, I'm gonna need a breather after that round. It was so darn close. Too close for comfort for both squads, regardless. But look at this. The Direwolves, they're already stacked up outside of the A bomb site, and they are looking to put Pokemon number 102 into motion relatively soon. For those of you guys who aren't Pokemon fans, I'm talking about Execute, and dang, he is cute. But regardless, Info Darts on the side of the Inventor is going to just bank itself right off. Damn, I gotta hop into a custom match and try that out for myself. Regardless, though, the push is starting to come on through. Prophet is able to find the first. Amirati is going to shut down Levi, but Phonic is going to clap back, and suddenly enough, well, Wen, he is getting hit with a massive sense of deja vu as he is left once again in a clutch or kiss scenario.
This time, they're on completely the wrong side of the map. The attack went in, and Wen just wasn't ready, and potentially that's where Warwick's having their issues. The complete disconnect between the players from Warwick deciding to attack the A site as 4, and Wen is still stood in a corner, waiting for it to come back. And I think if you're on the side of Wen, you're going to be asking your team, can you, not just chuck these rounds away so quickly? But they're going to find out where he is now. They have the information. The bot is going to find it, and it's Frenzy against the world. See if they can pick up any kills as they come out. They're going to have to find something. Close it down. And I was going to say, I disagree about Execute being the cutest one. As you know, I am a fan.
It literally has cute in the name.
But it doesn't make it cute. I've already told you this. I've explained this to you. You know what my favourite is, and it is way cuter than Execute. And I will not argue with this one anymore, because I am right as the colour caster. As the play-by-play, you're clearly wrong, because you don't understand the technical understanding of all these things.
I don't disagree with you. Gengar is super duper cute regardless, but you know what? Fine.
The thing is, I love your usage of it to bring us into the game and explain how things are going. But if you're on the side of Warwick Direwolves, this is a round you have to win. The buy is in, the rifles are out. Fornic not wielding their valuable judge as normal. They are trying to find some information. Matty's already pushing out aggressive, already trying to find out where some of the players are, but they know where Killjoy is. They've already seen one nanoswarm grenade to stop the aggression. The weapon disadvantage on the side of Reading Knights, you want to be slightly more aggressive on some of your plays, especially in these short angles of B. But the drone's going to go out. We're seeing the drone has already come in from the side of the Warwick Direwolves. They will have found that drone coming in from the back sites. They have some information, but the slow play is not working. They're going to see some players that it's now a crossfire you don't want to be involved with.
Not at all, but Wen is going to persist, and he's able to shut down Maddie. He's direct doppelganger. Juma's going to find one first troubles as well onto the Inventor, and Wen is going to get the immediate refrag as well. Now, Amirati, he'll be pop-flashed as well. Finds one as Wen had his back turned towards the Sova, and just like that, Levi is finally going to put an end to Amirati's reign of terror. The Reading Knights say now on the back foot, they have got to try to mount this retake. It's a 2v3 scenario, and they don't have many options to work with. The moment that any single one of them goes for the wide swing, they are surely to be taken outright or potentially even traded out once again. But Prophet, he's got his Omen, his buddy to work with to try to clutch out this 2v3. Goes in for the swing, finds Levi as well. And here's Ego shutting down Curry Monster. It's all down to Phonic. He finds the first but can't find the second. Reading Knights, they're able to take this, clean the defuse, and their third round in a row.
And that was the bonus round win for the side of Reading Knights. If you're a side of Warwick, you cannot be affording to lose those rounds. You were 3v2, and Curry Monster was just looking the wrong way. Gets caught out completely on the flank, and it's Prophet that picks up the last 2 kills. Fornic does their best, but Wen had a beautiful start here. gets a crossfire position that's never going to be great to be in, but against the Spectres, they're not punished. You get a beautiful kill here. They do trade out the second kill with the Inventor, but they're just jumping onto site, not checking all your corners. And at this point, it's just Profit and Ego Peak versus the world, and they make it work. They find one player, Fornic can't quite line them up for the collateral, and it all falls apart for the side of the Warwick Direwolves. They're back on the eco, they're back on those pistols. They need to try and find a way of breaking through this Reading team that have no interest in going, and this could be disastrous if this rocket does hit.
Oh no.
They're trying to find them. They're going to find one. It's going to completely miss thanks to the tailwind of the jet, but the pistols are going to exchange the kills. Juma's there.
Levy is able to shut down Juma as well with the Sheriff, and, well, that was not necessarily the start we were hoping to see. I was expecting to see a quad with that showstopper, but it's going to remain in my dreams long forgotten, unfortunately. Regardless, though, it's a 3v3 scenario with the Direwolves now opting to shift their attention and focus towards the B-bomb side by the looks of things, catching a breather after a lot of those early engagements which didn't necessarily pan out in their favor. Sure, they managed to trade out 2 players for 2, but it's still a long road ahead.
Yeah, and it's the health disadvantages that the Warwick Direwolves have, and they're pushing into the Killjoy utility. They need to find these Nanoswarm grenades, otherwise this round is going to end incredibly quickly. They're going to find the first one. Does they pop the Nanoswarm? The grenades have now been popped out. Maddie's going to find Fornic, and we saw the low health bars could have been a problem. Wen is going to try and push back and try and help their team member get in. They're going to pick up a rifle, and that at least gives them something. They're going to spam a couple of shots through, but it's a 2v3. And the last time it was a 3v2, it didn't work. But the Killjoy lockdown is going to give them the opportunity to plant the spike. They're going to try and find the lockdown. It is not going to be destroyed yet. They don't know exactly where it is, and that's beautiful positioning of the lockdown. They're now going to try and find players going out to site. They're not going to find any, but the lockdown does go through, and it gives them more time. That's time burned off of this clock. They have 3 players to enter the site. They're going to drop in now, and Mirati's going to find their way in, but the backstab is ready for the side of Wen, and that is a beautiful rolling thunder that gets the first player down. Going to find the second, but Ego Peak doesn't allow them to find the third, and it's a 4-0 start to the side of the Reading Knights.
I've got to say that the Direwolves, they pulled out all the stops to try to claim their first dub and get themselves on the scoreboard, but man, if they just had one extra body to work with, it could have been an entirely different story, and man, it's so disheartening that that particular RPG missile did not land when the idea was so good, catching the Knights with their pants around their ankles, but unfortunately enough for the Direwolves, having that man disadvantage really puts you on the back foot. As I said, one extra body, we could have seen an entirely different outcome in the late round right there.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate round for the side of the Direwolves, but it was weapon disadvantage. They came in on the eco round and they almost made it work, but it's now buy round again, and a Merity removes Fornic and Profit removes Levy, and it's all fallen apart if you're on the side of the Warwick Direwolves. 2 players down on your gun round. This is not where you want to be. The operator might find another one in a second, but they might be making a quick, peaceful exit. But the shells are going to go out. That's going to do damage if the Inventor doesn't move back. He's going to lose a decent chunk of his health and probably a lot of his armor at the same time. Only 20 armor and 10 health, but could have been a lot worse. They don't find any information off of the drone, but Curry Monster, lovely little kill there.
Tip, tip, bing, bong. That's a nice entry from Curry to even out the odds ever so slightly, throwing us into a 4v3 scenario. But once again, the Direwolves, they don't have anything to work with. Profit is able to shut down Curry Monster. Juma's going to get the revive onto Ego Peak as well to solidify this round victory for Reading Knights. And, well, now if you're in the shoes of the Wolves, well, you don't have a lot of options to work with, unfortunately. Barely any map control to work with, no real estate, no real access points either. And Reading Knights, they've already got the B bomb side covered as well. The only thing that they can really do is let the timer drain out and hold on to a couple of guns. That's basically it for the Direwolves this round.
Yeah, and for both teams, there's something on the line. Obviously, the Reading Knights dropped all the way from 3rd down to 6th because they lost to Brunel in the last round. So they're looking to win this one to get them back into that sort of top 4 seeds. So they get they get in theory an easier match in the double elimination. But Warwick Direwolves, they're fighting for it, but they're going to lose another round. They're not going to push in. They're going to try and save these weapons. And it is not looking good if you're Warwick Direwolves. You cannot find a way of breaking through this Reading Knights team. Profit is on song yet again. We have constantly seen this player perform in the university level.
Yeah.
And they're just transitioning all the experience they've had back into another fantastic round. Although Currymont's able to pick up an epic kill there, they cannot find the next one. They get their face taken off by this op shot, and it just does not go well for them.
No, I've got to say that on the side of the Dire Wolves, well, they certainly are making a couple of really, really great strides to try to take these round dubs, and especially in that previous round. Despite the fact that it was Curry Monster's opening kill, his first kill of the match, it truly shows us exactly what he's capable of when he's in the right mindset, and that's essentially all it is for the Dire Wolves thus far. It's a mental game that they have got to overcome. Obviously, going up against the Titans that are the Knights, it's no easy feat, but it's something that the Dire Wolves are capable of overcoming regardless.
When you're playing with a breach, they need to stop dry peeking so many angles as much as they are. Yes, Curry Monster was able to pick up the last one, but they're dry peeking a lot of these angles. They're not giving themselves to go through. And the point I did want to make before we hit the action on this attack onto A site, I might get cut off in a minute and have to go back to it. But if you look at the score, but I'm actually going to hold it because the attack's coming in now. The flashpoints are going in. The attack comes in. They're going to completely get rid of me. An ego peek falls to Fornic straight away. Fornic's going to find a second one. And a player that we really needed to step up to the plate has finally done so. And the trades are coming in. One player left. And of course, it's Profit, the operator in hand. See what they can do in a 1v3.
One shot, one kill is all it takes, but he needs to repeat that process 3 different times and manage to keep his life intact for as long as possible to seek out the defuse as well. He's going to force his way directly into the center of heaven, but unfortunately enough, he doesn't find any heads to click on. He's going to go on the aggressive, takes a bit of damage as well, creeps up towards Garden, finds the first onto Wen, but unfortunately enough, he'll be shut down before he can find the second. Now, John, let's go ahead and hear exactly what you had to say before these players, all 10 of them, decided to rudely interrupt you.
Yes, and it was so rude of them to do so, but these opening kills by Fornic, I do want to pick up. The blind fire through the smoke into a known position is obviously great. Jumaze goes down as well, then the trades come through 1 for 1, and it puts you from 5v3 into 1v3. And for Profit, he does get 1, but it's such a difficult position to put yourself in. A nice kill onto Wen, but then there's a crossfire that even if you do get the kill onto the Inventor, you're probably still going to get closed out by Fornic, who's wrapped around in heaven. But I wanted to point out that before the previous round, Wen and Profit were both top fragging their teams on 7 kills. And obviously Profit got 1 going to 8, Wen didn't get any. But it was interesting that we had 2 teams with top fragging of 7, but the score was 5-0. So it's just interesting that it's actually what the team does around you. No matter how well you top frag, it's what the team does around you. And Warwick and Reading, up until that point, and the Dire Wolves finally got one, had just made better use of their team play to get these rounds positioned. So even though Wen was fragging out on this Killjoy, it just wasn't able to work. But now we're going to see the push in. They're going to find some information. They're all within jet smokes, and that's the spam through. And Maddie's going to find the first one. The Prophet's going to find another one. That's a beautiful start. Lady does get rid of a mirror T, but it's now a 2v4.
Well, they can certainly get the spike down now as well. The Dire Wolves have access to the bomb site. Ego Peak stuck on heaven. Opts for the reload as well. Doesn't know that there's a player directly opposite of him. That is Phonic. He is lined up. He's just waiting for the right moment to pounce. He finds one. He gets... No! He doesn't get the second. He was caught mid-reload, and that is Profit with the op, putting that sniper rifle to work. Finds 3 in that round right there. And Reading Knights, oh my goodness, John, they are on a roll, and they show no signs of stopping.
And it was a self-contained clip reel for Twitch just coming up here. The Trigger Discipline waits through, but just doesn't have the ammunition to make it work. Profit removes the Inventor with the Showstopper, and then doesn't get removed by Fornic. And it was so close to being a highlight reel in itself, but Fornic ran out of ammunition, couldn't make it work, and Profit runs away with yet more kills in this game. And Reading Knights extend to a 6-1 lead. And if you're on the side of Warwick Dire Wolves, now it starts to become scary. You have Operator in hand. We know how efficient they are. But they need to find a way of challenging it now. Wen's been good so far, but about to lose a lot of utility and damage. But they are going to see the op, not going to get traded back, unfortunately.
This is something that the Dire Wolves might not necessarily want to challenge. Profit perched up over by Garden. He's going to toss out a frag, and he's going to shut down Levy as well. Opts for the wide swing. Looks for the second, but he's not going to be greeted by any red silhouettes, at least not for the time being. Maybe momentarily. I might have to eat my own words for a second. As we can see, 3 players are lined up. Oh, this just screams a collateral, but the initial shot is going to miss, unfortunately enough, for Profit. I know he's a greedy man, he definitely wants a lot of action, but that's going to have to hold on, at least for the time being.
It was such big brain play there by Profit. Chucks the paint shells. They know there's a player in that corner. They have it on Overwatch. They're effectively a turret in that position. They manage to... The paint shells goes into corner, forces out Levy, and they get punished. But Ego peeks in a smoke all on their own, and they're about to be found. And 3 players, as the smoke dissipates, appear in their eye line, and they are killed before they know. But Juma's in a little tiny hole position. Gonna get found, though, and that's huge.
It really, really is, but here's Amirity. He comes to the rescue, finds 2 first troubles, and now Maddie's gonna join in on the fun as well. Shuts down the Inventor. Now it's all down to Phonic. Vandal in hand, not the Judge. He won't drop the Mallet this time. Unfortunately, he will be cleaned up by Amirity and the Reading Knights. Oh my, they are looking... oh, so very dominant this time around. 7 rounds to their name thus far, and we still have 4 more to go before the side swap. This particular play from Prophet was just so Galaxy Brain. As you said, baits out Levy, forcing himself to expose himself, and at that certain point it was just easy pickings.
Oh, that was something beautiful to watch and have the opportunity to see. That was... you don't normally necessarily get to see levels like that when you play solo queue, but that was... yeah... I'm lost for words. It was just one of those ones that you'd think of, like, if you were a coach, right, as we wait for the action to cover, if you were a coach and you're in a position saying, if someone goes here, this is what you do. You chuck out the grenade, Prophet picks up another.
He just done the same thing again, but with the Roomba. Oh,
baits it out. It's
goodness.
just insane. It's like...
Oh
no! Oh, Prophet.
Why you gotta do them so dirty, man? Shuts down Curry Monster as well, and this round is practically over before it even has a chance to begin. Wen is going to do his best to fight back, finds Amirity, but being left on roughly a 5th worth of HP is not the ideal position. Now this... oh goodness gracious, I thought these were 2 evenly matched squads, but it appears to be a much more different story. It's all down to Wen. He's deep in enemy territory, and it's just him once again versus the world.
Yeah, 40 seconds to go. The likelihood of surviving this round is next to, well, I would say 0. Yeah, it was actually 0.
Practically 0.
Practically 0, just depends on the percentage was on how many kills they picked up in the process. But yeah, if you're a coach, right, and this is a strategy you would tell them to do, like, if you know someone's there, chuck the paint shells in, then pull out your rock and kill them. Like, it's like such textbook strategy you'd expect to see from like a coach trying to instruct a team to do, and the fact that they were then enabled to act on that play and make it work shows you just how well practiced this team is, both at the university level but also outside of university level. And Prophet just showing the strides they've taken to improve out of the knowledge they gained from Epic Land when they did take on some of the best teams in the world, well, in Europe anyway.
Prophet, he is just going to town with this operator, finds the entry as well as the Reading Knights. They have it, or I believe that is actually the Direwolves who have actually dropped their lockdown this time.
No.
Demirity finds his doppelganger with the Hunter's Fury, the disrespect.
They found the lockdown
as well. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oi, this is going super duper south for the Direwolves. Prophet opts for the Jiggle Peek, doesn't land the shot this time around, but he still has more work to accomplish. Is he gonna find the shoulder? He spots the shoulder. Come on. Oh, all these red silhouettes, man, they're so fresh for the taking. Just do it!
Look at Ego Peek, though. Look at Ego Peek's position. They know Prophet's here, but there's also a Judge waiting around the corner for the first player to go in. They're gonna find Wen on the aggressive push through, and it's now a 5v2, and we can wax lyric over how the Reading Knights have played, but I also have questions being raised over Warwick Direwolves and just how exactly they plan on breaking through this Reading Knights wall. And we were talking, as they do try and scarper the way to the B-side site, I think this is all going to end in disaster very soon. Amirity in a beautiful flank position, armed with the Odin ready to go. But it's just talking back over the sort of the taking it to the next level. Obviously, we saw them go to that next level. Who's going to win this one? It looks like the Judge is going to win. Both gunfights are won by the Judge. And Fornic being shown the errors of his ways, picking up a rifle again. Ego Peek's going to pick up the double there with the triple in that round with the Judge. And just going back to what we're talking about, sort of with taking it to the next level, we saw the SUPD side, all this Reading Knights A team, go to the Epic Land event to take on these great teams like the likes of Fritz GG, the likes of Volvo Peak, the likes of Wave Esports and Vitality. And all of those 4 teams that we're talking about are these teams that have been put together to try and compete at the VCT level, sort of these VALORANT Champions Tour level. And the fact that the Reading Knights A team or the SUPD team, as they're talking about, are trying to push forward into that, it is really showing you what these players want to achieve in their capacity in Valorant, and it shows that they have this real drive, and it's now being transferred back into the university. Yes, they lost to Brunel. These things happen. Best of ones are... how's the best way to describe it? Best of ones are temperamental at the best of times for a litmus test. Oh my god! Oh my, yeah, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
At this certain point, Reading Knights don't even have to do anything besides just hold down mouse 1.
Oh my god, this spray down is insane.
Oh, they all just lined up. These
Oh,
stars
that arrow.
aligned so perfectly for Maddie.
I want a viewpoint from Amirati.
Huh?
I want Amirati's viewpoint on that one. That arrow, that recon dart. No, but I want to see it from Amirati.
Yeah.
I want to see from Amirati what they saw on their screen as they put out the recon dart, triggered everyone, and then Matty, obviously the beneficiary of the spray down. But oh my goodness me, that was yeah,
dominant. That was just an absolute demolish. I said before we actually
this is going to go bad.
That actually seeing a couple of curve stomps is definitely on the menu. Jama with the Odin is just putting that LMG to work. And here's Prophet, finds one onto Curry Monster. No. He will finally be shut down with the Judge. Now Phonic, we've been asking for you to do this so long. He finally drops the mallet on Prophet and judges him once again. Juma's gonna lose his life again, or technically at the hands of the Inventor this time around, so things are starting to look a tad bit more bright for the Dire Wolves. Eagle Peak opts to fight against Phonic, but it's not all that favorable since he has recovered an operator, and there is a Mirity. I believe that was with the Shock Dart, claims the life of the Inventor. That's a bit of BM.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful lineup that they put in. Admittedly, they only had the Inventor only had 16 health left after losing that one, but yeah, it's hard because I didn't want this match to go this way, but
neither did I.
But you can't say anything else other than the likes of Reading Knights are just simply on a different level when they turn it on. And clearly the game against Brunel has made them realise, oh, actually, we might still have a bit of a fight here, and it's not going to be the walkover that we want it to be. They have a fight on their hands against these teams, but they're making this game look easy against Warwick Direwolves, and that's not something I would ever have imagined to say, but it looks like the Warwick Direwolves are going to go for the traditional aggressive play, but they're going to find no one at home as there's 5 players stacked over to the B side on this Reading Knights team. And this could go very quickly wrong if you're on the side of Warwick Direwolves. Looks like a 4-man push into mid, but the aggressive push into A is not going to find anyone. They have the information there's no one A. The smoke's going to go B. That'll give them some inclination of where things are coming, and the attack is coming thick and fast.
It really is. When is the first to fall down over by Pizza? The rotation towards CT is going to be closed off thanks to that ice wall as well. The Inventor is able to find the immediate trade onto Juma, but he's going to be felled as well. Access over the bomb site has now been guaranteed. Eagle Peak finds one with a double barrel shotgun, finds the next as well onto Levy as Amirati is getting that spike down. Eagle Peak unfortunately will lose his life, and now it's all down to Curry Monster, who unfortunately can't put that sidearm to good use. Prophet on the other side of the spectrum can do so, and now Reading Knights A, they're on match point. They could have been facing a flawless score line of 13-0. Unfortunately, they dropped the round, but hey, this is disheartening to watch. Unfortunately,
it's hard because the hardest thing of what we're talking about now is. It's actually very hard to nail the specific reason the Warrior Direwolves are struggling so much. Obviously, we can see some coordination issues with the team. They've just taken gun duels, and they seem to be losing almost every single gun duel they do take against this Reading Knights A team, and that's across the board. But I don't know. It just feels like potentially they. Prophet's already on site. Curry wants to just get one with the trade out, but. Yeah, it's something we probably need to talk about after this match is finished, especially at match point. And 4v3. Reading Knights are down a player, so the Inventor picks up another one. That's a big kill to get rid of Amirati.
Definitely is. Maddie's able to plant the spike as well, but the Direwolves, they are...
Oh no.
Well, there comes Ego Peak just waltzing on in through the smoke with the Judge. Finds one first troubles, but Phonic with the Bucky is able to get the immediate trade as well. Now, for the first time in quite a while... Warwick, well, they hold on to the man advantage. It's a 3v2 situation, and that is going to be amplified. Wen is able to shut down Juma. The Inventor is going to shut down Maddie as well. They're able to find their second round after so very long, but obviously, this still begs the question. Is it all but lost? We simply don't know yet. All Reading Knights have to do is win a single round, and we can call it a day. It's up to the Direwolves to claw their way back into Haven, or into Ascent.
Yeah, and there's one player down, and the take was really good. Curry Monster getting the first kill was huge, getting the trade kill out, but then it's the Inventor picking up the next player, puts it to a 4v3, then it goes to 3v2. When with a late flank round, does get it, and then Inventor wins the 1v1 duel against Matty. Takes the Vandal off of them, that's big, and we're seeing an eco buy here on the side of the Reading Knights, and in theory this should be 12-3, but if we've seen anything can happen, it was just seeing the spray down through the wall from the side, from the Inventor, absolutely hosing down Matty. Probably about a third of his health left after that Ares attack. But Juma's up in mid with Ego Peak, and the Frenzies are in hand, and Ego Peak does have a judge. So there is a decent amount of weaponry in hand. We've seen what Prophet can do with the Sheriff, but they need to try and find some information now. They don't have any, and it looks like Curry Monster is making an aggressive push down A, not finding anyone. I hope they don't miscall this information of where the players are, but Shot Dart's about to go out.
And he also has the Ares prepped and ready to just hose down all over the Knights. We will see Prophet open things up with the Deagle. And then we also see Ego Peak finds two first troubles onto Phonic, as well as the Inventor in quick succession. Just like that, the Knights are able to get the spike down over by the A bomb site. And I think this is all but lost. Curry Monster is able to find one onto Ego Peak, but he still needs to power through 3 more attackers. And this is going to be a really, really tall order to accomplish. He's able to light the heck out of one of the players over by mid, and look at this Prophet just laying down suppressing fire
damage.
Bulldog as Curry Monster works his way into the bomb site, has some cover to work with, finds the head of Prophet for the third, is left on only 4 HP, tries to get half of the diffuser, but look at this, the grenade is his final undoing. Reading Knights, they take ascent in quite the dominant fashion. 13-2 is the final score line.
Yikes. That is about all I have to say in theory about that match. That was...
Yikes.
Yeah. I don't like ending round-robin tournaments in that way, and I feel we potentially let down a little bit on the match, but that is Reading Knights making a statement on how they want this tournament to go. They're not here to just win one, they're here to win back-to-back events, and they want this Varsity trophy. They want to put themselves in the best position possible to take through. And especially with Cecil's Finest, I believe they may have lost that last round. They want to put themselves... in fact, yes, Cecil's Finest, Bad Omens do manage to pick up a round, so that makes it super tight. They go to 5, so it means that Warwick Direwolves are dead and buried with Varsity. They are out. They almost cannot make it through. And that's only 2 results that have come through, but Cecil's Finest losing Bad Omens is huge, but I do want to take a moment to talk about that match and how important that is for how the University UK Valorant looks across, I would say, most of the board. That
Sure, let's.
We're talking about a team that had incredible domination last split. We saw how good they were. We saw what they were able to do. But this season, bringing 3 new players in, and we've seen Curry Monster before, we know they're a good player. They have hard carried a lot of their games, but it's the first time we've really seen the Inventor, and it's the first time we've really seen Levy. And I really feel that somewhere along the lines that something hasn't gelled for the Warwick Direwolves team, and if this is the last time we see them within the Null, there's a drawing board that they need to go back to, and they have a lot of work that they need to be doing on it, is how I feel.
Yeah, definitely so. It's not exactly the end or technically not the destination that the Direwolves wanted to arrive at. No. Obviously, I think that's pretty safe to say. And once again, it is really understandable that having to go through such major shifts in roster composition, it's a struggle. It's a struggle and a half. And this round is just an example of that statement in general. The fact that, well, once again, they had to go up against the Titans that are the Knights. They are at the very top of the Varsity division, and as we stated once, there is a lot of baggage between these two teams, but unfortunately enough, Direwolves, they just simply didn't have the mindset for it. They weren't able to bring out that exact same magic that they're known for bringing to the playing field, and just like that, they're out of contention for that top 8.
Yeah, and again, I mentioned it in the cast, it's hard because as a color caster, I watch so many games of Valorant through not just the ones I cast, but also the ones I watch. And it's hard to really pick up on exactly sort of one big thing that the Warwick Direwolves are failing to do, if that makes sense.
At this certain point for the Direwolves, it's basically just death by 1,000 paper cuts. There's no better way to put it, unfortunately.
And I think that's the key thing. I don't think there's any sort of massive. In some ways, it's actually harder with the position they're in at the moment. If you have one big issue, generally it's easier to fix because you have one big issue and you can solely address that one. But there seems to be a lot of fundamental challenges that the Warwick Direwolves are still not able to iron out with the transition into this new look roster. And you have to think that between now and series within the series within, say, the UKV and also within the summer split here of the null, that something really has to change with this team, like fundamentally has to change. We have the core, like Wen again, and how many times have we said that Wen has been that standout player for the Warwick Direwolves team? Yet again, they did turn up, and I do think Wen is potentially one of the best players, not just on Warwick Direwolves, but also within the whole of University UK Valorant. I cannot think of a better Sentinel player than Wen. Whenever I look at it, I think of the likes of Maximus, obviously think of the likes of Matty. Even though I think Matty's on a great team, I do think Wen is a better Sentinel player than even Matty is from just watching the way they play. I think they play the lurks better than anyone else within the UK University Valorant, and I think they could just do with the opportunity of having that sort of exposure on that big grand stage. And we've seen how good Fornic will be. They had a bit of a quiet game today, and just the rest of the team, there's something about the team, they just cannot gel together and they cannot be there to support a Sentinel player. Like when your Sentinel player is top fragging, there's a pretty serious question mark.
Something is going wrong.
Something
is definitely going wrong.
I feel that, and I don't want to prolong this too much on the Warwick Direwolves. I think they're a great team. I think they are a great organisation that will be able to bounce back. It's sort of, you think back to when SK Telecom T1 lost the League of Legends World Championships to Samsung. Everyone thought it was the end of the world. Turns out it probably wasn't. Yes, they haven't won anymore, but organisations that are good fundamentally and have a great base will always bounce back. We've seen that with Rootkit and Blue Jays this season. They've really turned it back on, although they're having a bit of a middling tournament here within UKV. They've been stomping people, quite frankly. They've been a really dominant force to be reckoned with, and I do believe that the Warwick Direwolves come back. To move swiftly onto the Reading Knights team, dear good Lord, I fear for anyone who faces them in the first round of the top 8, because if they play like that again, I can't see anyone outside of potentially Immoral Free standing in their way. Like, Immoral Free are potentially in this tournament as a section of the whole of UK Valorant, the best team in UK Valorant. And that's not in University Valorant, and that's not saying they are the best team, but take a snapshot of the Null, they are the best team in this tournament. They have lost one match so far. That tells you how good they are. But Reading Knights, I think, are the best team to challenge them, and if they're playing on the form they were today, I think over a best of 3 and a best of 5, I would put my money on Reading Knights to emerge victorious, especially after the way they've played. Best of 1s have a tendency to throw up some real curveballs in results, and we have seen that. We have seen teams take down those we wouldn't expect, like, for example, Apes Together Strong taking down Blue Jays and Rootkit. After Blue Jays, big, massive result. But against best of 1, these things happen. But over a best of 3...
Yeah, you actually need to have stamina on your side. There's technically much more room for error. It's not necessarily just one map and then it's all done and dusted. You still have the opportunity to come back in best of 3s and potentially even best of 5s as well.
Yeah. A great example.
I definitely agree.
Great example from recent history. Epic LAN. We saw Wave Esports drop a best of 1 map to a team called Terra Mill. Now, Terra Mill are a good team, but they're not Wave Esports or at that level. But they took a best of 1 map off them. They then got 2-0'd by Wave Esports in the upper bracket of the double elimination. And it's just that the fact that, yes, best of 1s are great as an indication of how good a team is, but you need to play them to get to the double elimination. But when you get to those double elimination best of 3s, that's when the best teams in the world and in the various leagues really come to the fore. And I personally, after that performance today, would be very surprised if we didn't see the Reading Knights A in that grand final, whether coming through the upper or the lower bracket. I'm not a betting man, but I think it's a fairly safe bet to put on side of Reading Knights that they'll be there. They look absolutely dominant in this game against the Warwick Direwolves, and if you're able to play like that on a consistent basis, I do fear for the rest of the league somewhat.
Definitely so. So as things stand right now, there's not necessarily a whole lot to talk about, but there is still plenty of stuff that we can look at. First things first, huge congratulations and commiserations to the Reading Knights for working their way into the playoff bracket and for finishing so high in the rankings. They are looking like one of the demons that you certainly do not want to go up against. And speaking of specific demons, that you certainly don't want to go toe-to-toe with. Here's exactly what Prophet can do in case if you actually missed out on that earlier in this evening. The moment that you throw an operator into that man's hands, he will just go to town, as I believe Noah is ready to throw up a couple of highlights from earlier this evening on screen in just a hot second, probably.
Not putting Noah on the spot.
There we are. There we are. So, pistol round. That wasn't all too brilliant, but okay. We were talking about the actual, kills that he's managed to get with the operators, specifically a lot of the entries, and just this man so far. What did he end off the matchup with? Somewhere around the realm of like 15 to 18 kills,
it was
something
a lot.
like that.
It was almost
it was a lot.
It was almost a kill round, I believe, more or less. But this one here was insane.
20 kills. Wow.
He ended up with 20 kills, so more than a kill a round. This grenade paint shell, just look at the positioning. It's deep into the cubby. It forces out Levy, and Levy can't even get a flashpoint out to prevent Prophet getting this clear shot. And then it's just, yes, they aren't able to find one here, but they pull back. They then re-peek, and it's just, well, there's a player running along, not looking in the same place, and Curry Monster Punish takes down with their live, and 27-3. Yeah. Well, welcome to Prophet Valorant is the best way to describe it. This player has generally across the board been one of the most consistent frag out players we have ever seen in the league. Every time you see them on camera, you see them there or thereabouts at the top of the scoreboard. They take it to they take the fight to anyone, and that's one of the most impressive things. It doesn't matter who you put up against them; they will always be there. They will always find a way of getting kills, and we see that across the high levels of games. We see that across the sort of the early opening best of ones against what you might class as not a lesser opposition, but a slightly different caliber opposition. The Prophet is always there, and I actually had I would say pleasure, but it might actually be a slight displeasure of playing against Prophet in the show match at Epic LAN. That player's really, really good. Yes, I did get to tap his head a few times, and I will take my opportunity to win some duels against that player, but dear G, my life, that player is good. And it just shows you what sort of player can be built through the university Valorant leagues, that it's not just these solo queue players that have suddenly appeared in these top professional teams. They have a root in, and I think that's potentially where Europe has succeeded across so many other regions, across a lot of different esports, the CSGO Valorant, because we have those base level collegiate university, EU
there's
Masters.
There's plenty of grassroots platforms, that's true.
There's a huge amount, and it's great for them to build up, and Prophet's a name obviously for the future, but then the rest of the team around them is just there as a consistent base to support that. There's no
to
one
enable
player.
him to do what he does best. That's essentially the name of the game.
And generally the player who sits at the bottom of their frag of 5 players, which is generally not a lot of times, isn't always the same player. Like, they all have their pop-off performances. We've seen Matty pop off, although as the Killjoy sort of Cypher player, they generally are at the lower side of the kills just because of the agents they're playing. But again, flashy duelist plays is what you want to see, and you want to see them frag out, and Prophet has always been there. But now they have that support with the team around them, and I must commend Reading Knights A for putting together the team that they have. They have a very stable core of Ego Peak and Matty. Obviously, Amirati is a great Sova player and will always be there or thereabouts. But then just having Prophet at the top, able to frag out with that support around them, has been fantastic to watch.
Yeah. Now, before we do actually sign off, let's go ahead and actually take a look at the rankings quickly, because we do have a much more clear idea as to who exactly is going to be going. Yeah, we do have a much more clear idea as to who is going to be participating in playoffs that do start off next week at the exact same time on Sundays. I believe that is going to be the 14th of March when we will be back. So we've got Immoral Free ending things off in first, Cecil's Finest not too far behind, the Portsmouth Paladins in third, Brunel, Reading Knights A, as well as the Mighty Stags. They are all confirmed. Those are your top 6 now. The 7th and 8th positions, we've got Blue Jays and Rootkit, as well as the Bad Omens, who are sat on 5 points. And if I'm not mistaken, well, the Blue Jays and Rootkit matchup is still ongoing as well.
So they're against the Arctic Foxes. They're still playing. I'm just flicking between the different results as we go. So just the results we've had so far. So obviously Reading Knights beat Warwick Direwolves 13-2. Brunel took down the Mighty Stags. Now obviously for the Mighty Stags, that's not a massive problem. They were already in, but it does shove them down in the rankings. 13-2 to the Brunel team. Cecil's Finest, second place seed going into this game, lost to Bad Omens 13-5. So Bad Omens hit 5 points, which guarantees that Warwick Direwolves were obviously out. Lancaster Bombers and Apes Together Strong is still playing. Immoral Free also are the top place team coming into this round, lost to the Portsmouth Paladins. The Paladins pick up another one. Again, I think Immoral Free do still get the first seed. And then Blue Jays and Rootkit versus the Arctic Foxes is still ongoing. So talking of rankings, Immoral Free guaranteed number 1 seed.
Yeah, they are guaranteed the number 1 seed. And now it's really all down to Blue Jays as well as ATS to see if they make the cut or not. But obviously, as much as I would love to keep on talking and just wait for those results to actually come on in, we have officially just reached the limit for today's broadcast. So we are going to be signing off. Thank you so much for tuning into the final live stream of the regular season right here of the spring split right here at the Newell. Keep in mind that next week, once again, Sunday Fun Day as per usual is when the playoffs start, and we will be tossing things over to Rook and Doctor to kick off the playoff stage as well, so you don't want to miss that. Once again, so much love to everybody behind the scenes right here at the Newell for making everything we do possible. Specifically, huge thank you to yourself, John, for being my lovely co-caster, to Noah on production, as well as Phil on observation. Make sure to go ahead and check out our sponsors and partners, Unite Students, as well as Logitech. But for that, or at least for the time being, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. I've been Tudor. John, my co-caster, has been himself, and we will catch you guys in the next coming weeks. Remember, playoffs next week. You don't want to miss it. So take care and have a pleasant evening.
Sage killed. One enemy remaining. 30 seconds left.